Hi, it's Erin and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage. I don't have much of a voice today, so just bear with us. But today, hubby wanted to have another bonus show for a very special theme.
Yeah, yes, indeed. So this will be probably our fourth annual Malcolm X Day show. Most people should know May 19th is the birthday of Malcolm X, and that is what we consider Malcolm X Day, right? And what you do really on Malcolm X Day is you kind of just celebrate him and the things and his vision and the tenets that he lived by, and he wanted people to live by and understand, the importance of them in your life, and you can still use these things to this day, even in this crazy world we live in, this digital world with social media and all that. You can still use these things to and, enhance your life. Do you think? Something like that. And just not only that, just even if you look at his lineage that he left, right, who are still freedom fighters fighting for freedom, fighting for things like that. The main one being Ilyasha Shabazz, I hope I say her name right. She's still fighting and fighting the good fight for her father. Now we all know about his grandson, Malcolm. No, Malik Shabazz. Excuse me, Malik Shabazz, who was a freedom fighter. He's working for workers' rights and was actually, I say, assassinated here in Mexico, I believe in 2015. They tried to make it seem like it was a bar tab, if you guys are familiar with that story. But actually, he was down in Mexico fighting for the rights of workers, and he was mysteriously killed and thrown in the alley, right? And so, for what some people call fear of a blackamoor messiah, okay, and this is a whole different type of show, but that's what they seen. They seen a young Malcolm, even though he wasn't his son, he was his grandson, but he was starting to take up Malcolm's vision and his work. And they say we can't have that. Now you go all the way back to what J. Edgar Hoover, and it's outright put in there that they have a fear of a blackamoor messiah, and they're always looking for them, right?
But you should explain what that means.
Well, there's just a black man in the United States who has the ability to persuade and sway people in the fight for freedom against tyranny. And so they're always looking to see who's the real black Messiah. They see people out here who talk a good game, but there's a few that and you see they got three of them in the 60s, right? So they got Medgar Evers pretty early, and then they got Malcolm in 65, and then they got Martin, Dr. King later on, right? They got all three of those black moral messiahs out of here, all of them in their 30s, right? Typically, they'll get the black moral messiah as a young age, right? Malik Shabazz, I can't remember his age. I want to say in his mid 20s. Not to state the wrong age. You guys can fact check me on that. But yes, they will try to get these young men who they see could have influence and sway over the black community in a positive way.
And that's interesting because you see when the influence flows in the opposite direction, when it's destruction and chaos and killing, when it's bitches and hoes and all of that other stuff, they let that fly rampantly. They pay to market that. But when it comes to somebody actually doing the work, I remember right around 2015, 2016, maybe even 2017. For those of you who are familiar with Tariq Nasheed, he had a podcast and he told us some very disturbing information. They had these freedom fighters, grassroots in St. Louis,
Oh, and Ferguson. Yes,
in
indeed. In
Ferguson.
Ferguson, which is right out of St. Louis, outside of St. Louis.
And unfortunately, those, I think it was three of them, those young people were killed before they even got anything going, mysteriously. So it just lets you know how serious they are in keeping tabs with people who may be able to sway, influence, persuade you in the right direction.
Yeah, and that was after they were really working hard after that brutal and blatant police killing there they had in Ferguson.
I
Yes.
can't think. I can see his face.
Yeah, he was a young man. He was
Big
18 years
dude.
old. Big guy. You guys help me in the chat because unfortunately, it's been so many police slayings that it's hard to remember each and
I
every
can see his
name.
face though.
And so they were working hard to get that Ferguson Police Department to work with the Ferguson Police Department to have better treatment of the blacks in that community. But they were killed, and I'm pretty sure the one gentleman, Tariq Nasheed, knew who was in Hidden Colors. He ended up in the trunk, right, in the burn, and he set the car on fire. And then, and so that's the Blackamoor Messiah. These are people that they see. I'm sorry, forgive me, but I forgot to mention Fred Hampton Sr.
Mm-hmm.
He was somebody that they got rid of very early, and that's interesting. And it always was interesting to me because when you see the Black Panthers, it was Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, right, the heads of it. And then, but they went after Fred Hampton Senior. So that's interesting. They didn't go. I mean, they eventually went after Huey. You know that. They went after Huey. But he beat the case, but they went after Fred Hampton immediately.
Mm-hmm.
He was on 20. So they got him out the game with quickness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always a theory of Blackamoor Messiah. So think about that. He was a Blackamoor Messiah, Malcolm X, and so we're going to talk about some of his visions and things that he spoke about, and then we're gonna tie it back into into what we always want to tie it back into freedom and freedom from tyranny. Did we have to pop in the room, or we okay?
Neil is here, but he's not sitting at his seat. So when
Okay.
he comes back to his seat, I'll turn it back on.
All right.
And if you know, is asking a bricks question, which, hey, if you know,
Yes.
thank you for joining us. We will, if you could finish your comment, we would appreciate it. And that way we can answer your question as well.
About the bricks. No.
You didn't finish.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did read some interesting bricks news this morning. And I'm like, man, they're gonna keep on keeping on. Watch out, y'all. But yeah, so we're going to talk about some of the things and the big stuff we're going to talk about, as we said, freedom. Also, we are going to speak on community, which is very, very important, which he stressed. Community, he stressed it. And that was one of the big things he stressed. So we have to keep a community even in this digital age. So we want to welcome in. We have, let me see, who is this? We have a friend of the show, director Neil Carroll. Is that all right?
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
Good, man. Sorry about the mix-up this morning, man. My calendar was messed up, and I caught it at the last minute. So I just wanted to catch you this morning, and I'm sorry, but I'm glad you could still make it.
Oh man, it's all good. Yeah,
But,
it's all good. I'm happy to be part of the show, man. You know how it goes.
Yeah, man. So we just started. We were just talking about celebrating Malcolm X Day, May 19th. And I know you being a director of African American Studies, Aiken High School, Cincinnati, Ohio. I figured you would like to speak on this. This is probably something that you have to with your students and the curriculum that you have. So what would you like to say, sir?
Well, first and foremost, to give all love, blessings, great ancestors. So the great ancestors, we do talk about him a lot. I kind of came in, I heard y'all talking about Fred Hampton a little bit and the Black Panthers and Stokely and how you just kind of like disciples of his, of that whole Malcolm X movement, self-determination. So man, I of course I love Malcolm X. One of the first books that I read from cover to cover. And we often talk about him. We talk about how things are evolving, how we weren't able to we didn't even hear about Malcolm X when I was young. So we also talk about how things are kind of evolving. And I feel like Malcolm would come out and say, "Hey, listen, we're here, and we're right at you if you try that, and put that out there." And I think it's like self-respect. Um, the message of self-reliance that he's seen, whether in his book, in his writings, or in his lectures, or when you spoke with him, or you hear him speak publicly. Ooh, God, love the transformation that you had at this trip from Mecca. We talk about those things in my class. So, I
Yeah,
just want
that's,
to say, you know, respect and power. So high as my
Neil, Neil, you're coming in a little bit choppy. The last time
Oh
we were on
Lord,
the show,
oh,
we had this
yeah.
issue. Just started, or what did you do last time? Because that was perfect.
From get out of my dialogue. Get out of my
Yes,
situation.
yeah,
Go
I
out
don't
now.
want them to hear what
Let's
you're
see.
saying, and then we can run that back again. It was too choppy.
okay.
I put on the noise suppression and everything, but
Let's see.
it's the choppiness that,
Okay.
and I want you.
Sure.
Are you using Chrome as well?
How did that pop up?
Because that's the like the screensaver thumbnail when you're
Oh,
waiting,
okay.
and then when
I
you
looked
press play,
back.
it'll go back to the
I
actual
looked back like
interview.
it
But this
switched.
is the thumbnail.
Oh, that's even better. But yeah.
While we're waiting on Neil Cousins, I bet you're sitting there like, what does Malcolm X have to do with Bitcoin, financial freedom,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, et cetera? Well, Malcolm literally crawled so we can fly,
Yes.
right? So you just have to understand that things in life have what we call an evolution, right? Little by little, and then all of a sudden. And the spirit of Malcolm X, freedom is independence. It is liberation. It is being able to have your own thought, your own programming. Um,
It's also a way to build your own community, which he was big about building communities.
yeah.
And you can build a community, even though it's digitally, it's globally, worldwide. You see us here in Mexico, you guys in the United States, and some people I see in Europe. We can build a community around this. It is a tool that he didn't have access to back then.
hmm
It hadn't been.
He didn't have access to the ease of digital
Yeah.
community,
Hmm.
which is what Simon is trying to establish for you guys. He wants you guys to be able to have a place where you can go, where you can ask questions, where you can learn, where you can be inspired, where you can be motivated, where you can progress, where you can up level, where you can do the things that you dream and desire of doing that you don't have access to in your circles. We are at the point in our lives, I'm going to say unfortunately, but fortunately,
Okay.
where our circle is really, unfortunately, just the two of us, right? Our circle's a dot. And we're trying to see now if we can kind of build that out and establish a healthy 33rd degree. We're so blessed to have Neil, who Simon really just got back in touch with recently
Yeah.
after growing up with him
Yeah.
so many eons
Yeah,
ago.
because as life goes on, people kind of go their own way, so you lose touch with people
But Neil
from
has
time.
always been a positive influence
Yeah,
in your life as he is older than you.
yeah,
You've always seen what he was aspiring to and always respected that
yeah,
aspiration.
hmm
Simon is very good friends with Neil's little cousin, who's the same age as Simon.
yeah.
And he too, always aspired to what his older cousin was doing, whether it was education, whether it was sales, whether it was
On the basketball
nation
court,
building.
we get out there and get busy.
And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about positive Black male influencers who are able to impact you in such a way. The Bible says train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, it will not depart from him. Don't matter how much time has separated between you two, right? The idea is that what you have instilled and inspired in me doesn't depart. You had the opportunity to talk to Corin
Yes, sir.
not so long ago.
Go ahead. Yeah.
He was my first supervisor.
Yeah,
And
homie.
think about all of the things that he had to say about me
Yeah.
at 14. And you just kind of think to yourself, like, God, she's exactly the same at 44.
Yes, indeed. Corin had he spoke very highly of you.
Always,
And
always. He was much older. He was my supervisor. I used to work when I was 14 years old. I was in school and I saw a announcement.
hmm,
The American Red Cross was starting what they call the Ryan White Grant. For those of you who don't know who Ryan White
yeah,
is,
that's old
Ryan
school
White
right
was a
there.
child who died from HIV/AIDS due to blood transfusion.
Yes.
So the American Red Cross, his family's foundation started what they call it the Ryan White Grant in order to do HIV/AIDS peer education.
Yes.
So it was a way for me to get paid, and at 14 I was getting paid $7 an hour. That's crazy
Right, she was
because that's
balling.
higher than minimum wage was a few years ago, and I was doing that in '95.
Yeah, they had to do that up on Long Island.
Obviously,
Man.
I didn't work for full time, right?
They had to do that in Long Island.
But what we had to do was we had an entire summer of training, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So it was full time in the summer. And then we would go to different high schools and we would talk about HIV/AIDS peer education. We would do improv skits. We would do poetry. I was cold with the poetry, y'all. I could have been a rapper, but I didn't aspire to be a rapper. Ask Lauren about my time, right? But it was a great program for high school students, and all of us were either Black or Latino. We had maybe one or two white people, but the
And
majority of the program were Black or Latino.
that's a great program. Not to digress off the conversation, I had to circle back around to what you said about being a rapper. Would you have been representing Left Rack City?
Hell no. I would not. No. Right. Next thing I know, I got a single with Remy, right? Like, no. But we used to do like, like poetry, like inspiring poetry, stuff like that. And all of these little things in the name of community come from the tenants, as my handsome husband would say, my hubby cakes would say. Where's he at? My handsome husband? Where's my handsome husband? Did you just ask that on the show? My hubby cakes, y'all know I call him hubby cakes. He hates that. Would say it comes from the tenets that Malcolm X had established for us to take and literally fly with. He crawled so we could literally fly, right? We have Bitcoin now. We talk about the independence that Bitcoin appoints us. And for those of you who've been watching the show, like Let Freedom Ring's been with us in single digit shows, we're up to 157 shows. You can see we live that.
Freedom, yeah.
We live that. We're off the grid. We talk about choices and trade offs. It's not glamorous. And I never romanticize the choices and the trade offs that come with liberation, that come with freedom. You don't have access to convenience. You don't have access to glamour. You don't have access to fabulousness when you are aspiring to a certain liberation. And as a nation builder, right? Y'all know how seriously I take nation building. It was important to both of us, Hubby Cakes and myself, that our children are what we call free range children. We train them in a way where they should go, that it will not depart from them when they are old, but they also are able to consciously plan their futures. They're able to consciously tell us, this is what I desire. And then as shareholders and stakeholders in their life, we invest in that and take them as far as we can possibly take them, right? With the idea that we're going to go as far as you want to go. And if we have to come up with a plan B or C or D or E or F or so on and so forth, as your nation builders, as your elders, as the watchmen on the tower, we are willing to do that. And we need a lot more of that in our community.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And especially when you have a situation where you're starting building a community from a very small space, with a small amount of people, I should say. In that regard, you have people who are assigned jobs. This is type of off the grid talk. Assigned jobs. If you're bigger and stronger, then I'm going to go out here and split the wood. Somebody may be teaching the children, so on and so forth. So, like she said, it's not glamorous. You got to put it together, build a nation in a very small way, and then just build it out and leave the tenants in them so that they continue to build the nation in that same manner and see if they can scale it up and scale it out. And a lot of times, even with the Bitcoin, we also say about things like nation building, you may not be around to see the fruits of your labor, and you probably won't. And when you get that in your head, like, you know what, I'm gonna do all this work, but I probably won't see the fruit of my labor, but you're okay with it and you continue to do the work.
Right. It's a lot of people that we consult with, that we talk to,
Mm-hmm.
that we meet with, the first thing out of their mouth when we try to take them down that road is, but how can I enjoy the fruits of my labor?
Mm-hmm.
And it's an understandable question.
This is true. You should. You
However,
should.
we do need a significant reframing in our community because, like I said, Michael Saylor has a 99-year plan. He is not, now granted, he's a billionaire right now, right? So you guys are saying, but he is enjoying the fruits of his labor. Is he? We don't know how Michael Saylor lives. And his idea is he has a 99-year plan and don't have a child to speak for, right? Yes, he has a niece. Yes, he has family members that I'm sure he has money allocated to and so on and so forth. But he has a 99-year plan and not one child, not one heir to his legacy. So the idea is that I have a 99-year plan regardless. And we should be the opposite. We're just kicking these babies out, right? We're just having a baby here, there, and everywhere with no conscious plan on the type of community, on the type of village that we need to establish for them. In our case, right, we don't have a village to help raise these children. There is no village helping us raise our children. I'm gonna say that one more time. There is no village helping Aaron and Gordon raise their 4 sons. So we have to hit higher, jump harder. I'm sorry, we have to jump higher, hit harder, and move in a conscious way where we can supplement the village that we don't have. But in the big scheme of things, why don't we have a village?
Mm-hmm.
And how many of you out there can be like, we don't have a village either, and we don't have a village either, and we don't have a village either? So how can we resolve that?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Director Carol that because understanding that we grew up in a village called the Heritage, legendary village, and things just aren't like that anymore, right?
We
You
don't
had
grow
other
up like
people's
that anymore.
parents looking out for you, making sure that you're behaving, or you come over and get something to eat at somebody's house and all the good stuff. You remember all those good days.
We didn't have
Like
that.
what happened to that village, and how can we recapture it,
I'm from New York. We didn't have that.
or we just have to move in a different manner?
I didn't have that.
I'm, coming from where it was, I with what Aaron said. We have to be very about creating our own villages and own networks, whether it comes through sports. With my daughter, she was able to kind of create that kind of family and community through athletics, which we did too, but it was a little different with our village. Whatever your means, because it's like anything else in life, the only thing guaranteed to stay the same is that everything is going to change. So, no, with devices and the way that things are set up now, no, it doesn't seem like we're ever going to, I don't want to say ever, but and everybody kind of teams up and we go play and do different things. Technology has changed.
Yeah.
The way we interact with each other has changed drastically, causing us to change the way that we move. But I just think we have to be extremely intentional. Like the lovely wife said about us building aspect, like whether it's getting involved in some type of different programs where you get out and see people, building this sense of community, finding different ways to interact with the current technology, with the current state and means that we are employing right now. I think that's huge. That's what we do. That's what I think
Yeah.
we need to do. The days of like having the heritage where we go outside and it's kind of all out there with family. I looked at other
Yeah.
people's parents, like my parents. Our parents had
Mhm.
relationships with each other. We were blessed to have parents that had relationships with each other before. So looked at us, the rare, you know what I mean? That doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
now I just think we have to be so, blessed and honored that blessed allow me to be reconnected with you and back in your life, right? I'm about us staying together, out ways for us to keep this community. So I just think we are intentional and use the out there. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, and I agree with you on that because we've talked about it on shows before where the community is becoming digital and you have platforms where, that is your community, no matter where the people are in the world. Like-minded individuals is the community. And we've had, I can't even count now, but we've had many people from this platform alone come to Mexico City and visit. And we come and meet them, show them around, and we actually meet these people that we talk to digitally in person. And they stay with us. We have a good time. They get to see what's going on in Mexico City and different things, and then we get to sit down and chop up a good game with them and things like that. Because it's always nice, in my opinion, to meet people in person. If possible, if at all possible, see somebody in person.
Okay.
I don't mean every day, like just from time to time, it's nice to just sit and look across somebody, shake somebody's hand. It's a nice as far as that community. So we try to bring that to here. That's why we always say, if you guys find yourself in Mexico, let us know when you come and give it, so we can figure it out, right?
But I do want to make the point
Completely agree.
that you may agree with me on this, that they are deliberately establishing a generation of children. I'm gonna say a generation, right? Not of children, but a generation where physical social networking is difficult. That skill is slowly becoming lost,
Oh yeah.
right? So, and they're
No
doing
doubt.
it on purpose. When we energetically come together, right? There's an energy that goes with that, and we collaborate. Great things happen, spectacular things happen, magic occurs, literally, right? That's why they used to say, disperse this group. I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, we would be like, uh-oh, there's 3 Black people hanging out in the hallway. Y'all better break it up. Why did we say that,
Break it
though?
up.
Because it comes from the idea that when we get together, we are colluding our way, we are conspiring our way into some sort of freedom and liberation, and they don't like that. Right? So when we look at, there are positives to the
I got
metaverse. I'm not knocking it.
I
Go ahead.
jump in.
Go
No,
ahead
I'm
now.
sorry. I mean what you said was so powerful that I had to just jump in. That's a unit about that's a unit. You get a few people together, people walk around, and then it's like that energy that you get from other people outside of our group community, like we need to disperse and break it up. You always saying like, why do we feel like that? I'm going to hit on a couple points because I talk about this in my class because it's super important. Man, this thing goes
No, go
back
ahead.
to
We want to
the
hear your
inception
points.
of our country.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This goes back to the inception of our country when they start coming up with these where there could be no more than 2 or 3 Black people together without a white person present and oversee it. All right. We have it in codes on Black codes, if you want, now the slave codes that they had, America in the early 1700s that said if more than one Black person was present, there had to be a white person present. I also think what you said about these devices, because I talk to my students about that, I put it on their soul and try to ask them, hey, go find this knowledge, go take a look at some of the research, look at some of these series. I give them documentaries, on the negative effects these devices have on you, how they make you socially awkward, how it really attacks your brain on a subconscious scale and makes you more of an introvert, less likely to. I don't think these things are accidental. So I agree with what you're saying. And I agree totally. It has something to do with that, right? That whole and that synergy, like you said, it's important for us to be faced. It's important for us to be faced in absolute aura and happens when we get together like that. And I do 100% believe I'm totally here, and I think it's intentional. I don't think it's accidental that these devices we have different things from that. And it goes back to that same feeling that you had, that we all have, that America has always had. Whenever you're oppressing somebody or there's something that you're doing that is not right, I was talking crazy about y'all two every day. Then next thing I know, I see y'all standing, looking at me talking. Then I'm going to think about all the things that I'm guilty about and what I said about y'all, and I'm worried. What are they saying? What's going on? Right? So I think that kind of attitude has always persisted in America. It's codified. We see it inside these documents from early Virginia and early colonial America, before America even becomes America. That without white provision. And I think these devices, and I think they're all connected. It's connected. I think it's intentional. Word for today, the great ancestor Malcolm X, we're going to be intentional. And I just think it's an intentional thing there. And I'm glad you brought that up. I had to jump in because you just hit it on the head. Succinctly.
I want to remind you, because you talked about the devices, when you seen that study, what that gentleman said about how long you'll spend on a device over the course
of Neil, you weren't on this show, but Simon and I, we do productivity every day, right? And the idea is that if we can watch a productivity video or whatever, just in case the day gets away from us, we're able to have accomplished some type of productivity. So we're watching the Mel Robbins podcast. She has a psychologist on there. He gave a statistic that the average person will spend up to 20 years of their lifetime scrolling for non-productive activity, right? So he's not talking about the people who use Facebook for marketing their business and stuff like that. He is talking about casual scrolling, casual liking of pictures, up to 20 years of your lifetime. And how many people, we talk about it all the time, the first thing they do when they get up, Neil, is they grab their phone and they start scrolling Facebook. They're not thinking about how they etched out their day. They're not thinking about what they're going to wear. They're not thinking about what they're going to cook for dinner or do for their family. The first thing they do is grab their phone and scroll. And every single pocket of their day involves, if there's a small, quiet pocket, let me come and go on Facebook. So what we want to do is we want to bring attention to this behavior because it is to keep you distracted. Imagine if you have 10 quiet pockets in your day and you just spent 5 of them. You can have the other 5 to scroll, but you just spent 5 of them thinking about your future, planning your day, planning your week, your month, your quarter, your year, every single day. How much further people would be in life.
Yeah, and that was disturbing when I heard like 20 years.
20 years, the average person.
So, I don't scroll too much. Sometimes I get caught up in it. Yeah, but I try to make it productive or informative. If I got to sit and listen to it, I want to listen to something that's going to teach me something. I'm not going to just listen to the silliness that's going on. Out there for my young cats, they out there. My sons was beating me up over this Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef and telling me every detail of it. And I said, man, but you guys take that mental, that energy, and and put it in something, what would you say, productive, and say
Mm-hmm.
have that same energy for productivity as well. And they do. They tell you. They say, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. And so you have to have a little balance. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
some balance.
Yeah. And we have to be serious
Yeah,
about the things.
I'm gonna say. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead
Go
now.
ahead. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead now.
No, I'm just gonna say I'm currently in a war at the Carroll compound. So at Castle Carroll, a war with this because once you find something, one out. Like now that we basically spend the average, right? So you're telling of our just so once you have this information, and then doing the research, and I found out that these people that design these websites and these different social media platforms, it's so you can't even combat it. If you have a device and you start dealing with this thing, everyone goes down that rabbit hole because they're hitting us on levels that the way our brain is wired and the way our chemistry is. They know much research is the dollars. They know that the more time you spend on this, it corresponds to how much you'll purchase, right? It's all programmed. It's with the same used in Las Vegas with the slot machines and gambling. So they're hitting you on a subconscious level with a type of warfare. I'm going to say that will keep you engaged with the only way to really combat one knowledge. Now, no, do myself put myself to a certain amount of time on the phone per day, right? So I'm in a battle, and I say we're in a battle at Castle Carroll at this compound because the other members, my beautiful wife, and incredible daughter, they also had this knowledge. I share with them. We talk to them about what's going on here, but it's just hard for them. I still feel like they spend too much time on these devices, right? We're always battling that. I'm like, hey, let's be intentional about it. If we know what it's doing to us, let's adjust the way we move, right? Let's add those hours of time that we have. Let's put some of that free time into building, right? So I'm in a war, and I'm
I think we lost him.
Do we lose?
Hey, cousin.
Did you freeze?
I don't get that thing anymore. I don't know if that's us or if that's him. I can't tell.
But I wholeheartedly understand
Neil,
what he's
can you hear
saying.
us?
I definitely understand what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you said, you got to be intentional. Put it down. When we go out to eat, well, no devices. We just talk to the kids and stuff, and let them play. What else do we do?
I think the other thing is like what we said, where if you're gonna use the device, you change the
eat at the table.
you change the paradigm in which you use it. So from 4 o'clock in the morning to at least about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we are consuming productivity videos. Even if we're like, okay, we know this information, it's still productive.
Something you can glean something from it.
Right? There's always that little hidden jewel
you'll
or
get
whatever. But I don't know if you guys know this, and this is the money shot, as people would say.
Okay, come on now.
But TikTok in China only allows educational resources within their algorithm.
Yes, this is true.
You cannot watch foolishness on TikTok, those dances, the ridiculousness, the funny stuff, the parodies, the reaction videos. You don't have access to any of that in China's airspace, right? So their idea is that we as a nation are going to cultivate and raise the most productive citizens possible, period. We're going to be the highest in education. We're going to be the highest in this arena. We're going to be the largest military. They have all of these visions for what we call the children of their nation. Right now, am I capping for China? Am I caping for China? I'm not caping for China. But the United States is saying, on the other hand, we are going to destroy our children the fastest possible railroad of destruction. We're going to give y'all first class tickets to get on this railroad of destruction, right? We will finance it, is what the United States is saying. They are not interested in cultivating the brightest of the nation, the strongest of the nation, the most. They don't have that in their vision at all. And this is the point that we keep trying to make, is that you are the king of your dominion, hence the term kingdom. You are the queen of your dominion, right? Which would be, in these particular cases, right, queendoms. If you have to create the educational policy, you have to create the economic policy. If you're asking for freedom, you now have the responsibility of all of these areas you are trying to pull yourself out of the areas of activity, right? We keep saying, be your own bank. There's a lot of responsibility you have to take on in being your own bank, that a lot of people, I feel like y'all have these talking points. Do you know what it means to be your own bank? You have to keep your ledger. You have to be on top of what inventory you have on your hardware, what inventory you have. If you do have, some people do have stuff on the exchange. We tell you guys, don't leave stuff on the exchange because you never know what can happen. But you need to know what's on the exchange. If some shit goes down with the exchange, you have to fight for it. There's no customer service to call and be like, hey, there was a fraudulent transaction on my Ethereum, right? Can I get that back? Nah. You said you wanted to be your own bank. Now you have to fight your own fights. You said that the education system and the public school system is crap. You need to supplement that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying quit your job and homeschool and y'all be homeless. Nobody's saying that. But you have to put the priority on educating your children like y'all do taking trips. Yeah, I said it, right? You got all these great trips planned, cruises and this and that, and you're trying to do this and you're trying to do that. What is the supplemental education you have for your children on the weekends? You see how quiet it is? And this is what I'm talking about, right? We have all of these areas of complaints,
Planes, okay.
right?
Tell me
We
more.
complain about the condition of our existence, as Nas would say, right?
Okay. I got
And then you say, all right, I heard all the complaints. We need to now cultivate a generation of solution-oriented people.
people, yes.
Heard the complaint, got it. What is your idea to, if not solve it, resolve it? Right? Those are two very separate words. I can't solve it 100%, but I do have a few resolutions. Here's some things we can do. Do you sit down and give those things thought? And according to the psychologist, no, we're not sitting down and giving these things thought. You know why? Because we're scrolling.
Yes.
We're looking at other people's lives. We're listening to other people's talking points.
Yes, we are.
We are being programmed by other people's very poor narratives.
Yeah, because as you say, as they come up, they're coming into a world where this is the norm. You know, we're handing devices to our 2-year-olds, and so
They know how to use them.
They know how to use them. So then, as time goes on, they will have a proclivity to be on these devices as opposed to being out in the real world. I sat yesterday. This is just a little story, a little offshoot story till we get back to stuff. I sat yesterday, took my son and myself to get a haircut at the barbershop. And, I sat quietly as my son got his haircut and, didn't have my device out or anything. And I watched a very crowded barbershop. And when I looked around, everybody just got their face in their phone. Nobody talking to each other. No, there's nothing. Everybody's face is in their phone. I'm the only person without a phone out. And I'm just looking around, enjoying the day. The sun's out. I'm just enjoying being there with my son at the barbershop, enjoying the music that we had chose for ourselves. And everybody's just facing the phone. You can't Like everybody's like, you can't even get out the door. Somebody's in the way. Like, excuse me, because his face is in the phone.
People cross the street here in Mexico facing the phone. This car is coming at 60 miles per hour down this carretera, and you just crossing the street like this.
Maybe sometimes holding the baby's hand.
Yep.
And so,
Baby on the outside, ready to just get mowed over by whichever car lost control. And it's just the world that we live in. Everyone is so distracted. There was a Pixar movie, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the Pixar movie. But the plot of the movie is it's this cruise ship, but it's in space, right?
I never said this.
And everything is attended to you. Everything's attended to you. And while you're watching this movie, the robots come and attend to you and stuff like that. You have all of your needs covered. People were getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
Like
and everybody,
like those smart cities you're talking about.
Yeah. But everybody's always in, y'all know the recliner at the beach?
Yeah.
Right? The recliner beach chair. Everyone's reclined like that. And you just watch throughout the movie as people are getting fatter and fatter, and everybody's got this screen in front of them, just like this. Right? They're watching their movies. You're watching them do this. I cannot remember the name of the Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Can you remember the name of that movie?
I can't. I'm not familiar with that. Yeah.
They was on a floating cruise ship. Is it Wally with the robots, right? And what happened was they ruined Earth. So now they're taking these floating cruise ships into space. So it's a floating cruise ship in space. And all of your needs are attended to by robots. Everybody is at least 400 plus pounds. Everybody's reclined, and they have like an iPad. And that's all they're doing throughout this whole movie. And it's just showing you in this movie where we're moving.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was Wally. He said.
And I wanted to ask you. I never watched it. I wanted to ask the director Carol, because you have a wife and a daughter, and if you are out with your wife and daughter, and you're like maybe going out to eat, a movie, a game, something like that, do you? This is what I do. I'm asking. Do you like kind of have your device put away and be on guard? Like, I got to see what's going on when we moving around. I can't just be like kind of lost off, and I didn't catch something that might be brewing over here, over there. I like to be on guard and see what's going on. I don't want my device. I don't want to be distracted out in public with my family. I want to know what's going on. I want to make sure the kids are safe, my wife is safe.
But even when we're at home and we're talking,
Yeah.
you see how you're staring at me now?
Yeah.
You give me your undivided attention.
Right. And so that's just a safety issue as a protector. As a man, as a protector of his family. Yeah. And so I see too many people.
Man, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. You keep going.
No, I just say I see far too many people.
They're on dates, right?
Yeah, Cass is
that first
like
date.
This. And anything could be popping off, and you like this, and say, hey man, I'm looking around. I mean, that's just.
But nothing's popping off, and you're not giving me your undivided attention. I'm not giving you mine. Mm-hmm. Now, am I looking for something? Is there some type of information I'm supposed to be furnishing? That's a whole different story.
And it's been a while since I've been in America. Okay, so I'm sure you have different experiences. So, but over here in Mexico, in this very small village or town, it's what is the word you call it? Homogeneous. So everybody looks the same. So when we go out, my wife looks kind of exotic. So I can peep men looking at her.
Oh, just stop it, Neil. Go ahead and answer the question.
But I'm just saying, I'm already ready. I'm already ready for the jump off. Like, hey, you looking at me, man? Come on now, chill out.
Yeah, you gotta be vigilant. Yeah, we got a couple catchwords. We got a couple catchwords and catchphrases, in the Carroll family, and that is number one: keep a tight formation, right? So when walking around, I remember when my daughter was much younger. When walking around, I'm always quick to be like, "Yo, keep a tight formation," and swivel up. Right? Two things you'll always hear us saying, like, "Yo, swivel up, look around, make sure you're aware." I wanted to do exactly what you said. Number one, I'm a man. I have a family. I want to make sure that I'm aware of my surroundings. I'm feeling like a Jedi Knight out there. I want to be aware of my surroundings. And I also want to deliver that message to my daughter. Don't be out here walking around lost in the sauce. Anything can happen just like that. Right? So we definitely used to always say that. they would make fun of me. Pete would make fun of me all the time when I'd be like, I'm like, yo, tight formation. Like, man, what y'all in the military or something? I'm like, hey, man, anything can happen at any minute. And then, like you just said, Gordon, it's just a natural thing as a man. You want to make sure your family's protected. I'm not gonna say it's all the time because every now and then I'll get out and look at my phone. But like you said, once we get out and we're in the middle of public and we're moving around, I'm walking around with two women that mean the most to me. So I stay focused, and I think it's caught on. And me and my daughter have conversations. She's out now. She was telling me about one time she was at a concert and some crazy stuff started jumping off, and next thing you know, she was up and out of there, and then she was like looking for her homegirls, and they were like looking around at different things, and she said she was behind cover laying down. She's like, I was doing what you said, like that. I kept my head on the swivel. So they are listening, and you have to be like that, man. We live so everything's so distracted. Everybody's so fragmented. You can't give full attention to anything. With these devices, look at different stuff. Everything's set up for you to kind of move, kind of distracted like that. So it's something that I know I pay attention to. We got some catchphrases that we always want to try to stay aware of our surroundings, man. Be mindful of your surroundings.
I like that. Keep a tight formation. I like that.
But there's another thing, Neil, that troubles me is that the TikTok videos are what, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 minutes is the longest you can get from a TikTok video, which means that they're constantly programming your supercomputer, which is your brain, to shorten and shorten and shorten your attention span. The average article now is a 1 to 2 minute read, which means I can't really market 100 page, 150 page. The Malcolm X novel was like this. It's probably over 400 pages.
I can't remember. It's a lot.
Right? And when you've been programmed to do a 1 to 2 minute read, how do you get this generation to read real books with real substance?
Doubt. I mean, they're definitely microwaving us, right? They're microwaving our attention span. Just the way we microwave our life again. I call it microwave, where everything is quick, immediacy, and our attention span is lacking. Right? It's terrible. And I think it's intentional. So just to get a person to read, like you said, the Malcolm X book is 466 pages. They're microwaving our society. You're more suggestive. We can put you in better places for you to consume. I'm always saying this about consume. Turn you into a consumer and keep you controlled. Right? You want to keep you not thinking, not having deep thought processes, not knowing how to slow yourself down. Right? Get into meditative states, get into deep thought, all the things that are going to preserve your life and make you kind of think twice about what's going on around you, right? Yeah. That's not good for powers that be. People sitting around thinking about what is coming next. You got to think about it. If I'm in control, it's probably not a good thing. Like that, people sitting around thinking about what their next move should be. Maybe it's to not go out and purchase something for no reason because I saw it pop on my feed, or I saw some other people using it. So, again, word for today, it's intentional. Along with my list, it's an intentional thing to microwave our thought process. I love what you said, microwaving our supercomputer, our brain, to just make us never be able to stop and get introspective with ourselves or things outside of ourselves at this point. So, as usual, I'm in complete agreement. I'm in complete agreement.
Yeah, that's indeed. I was going to check in with the chat room. They say like that.
So Let Freedom Ring said, agree, very few people want the responsibility that comes along with freedom and liberation. We live in a beautiful house in what I always call the bush, right? We live in a small town in Mexico. Could we live in Mexico City? Yeah, but that's not the lifestyle that we want for our children. I didn't want that concrete jungle for them, right? So we live on what maybe people would consider a farm. We have animals, very good, especially for Tino. Y'all know Tino has autism. But we have to get our water for the entire house delivered. It's not even piped in, right?
Yeah.
We have to get gas for the stove and for the pilot for the hot water
Hot
heater.
water
Thank
heater, the
you.
boiler, as
The
we used to call
boiler,
it back in the
right?
day, the boiler.
Delivered.
Yeah.
It's not piped into the house. There are times when the water doesn't come on time. There are times when one of your animals die, they pass away, and you're like upset about it. There are times when your animals give birth and you're overjoyed for it, right? You got that new baby lamb and stuff like that. We do have people to help us because I don't know anything about livestock cultivating, but we like the idea that the children know that they own cattle. Biblically, it was a form of wealth. So Simon and I are trying to do very specific things for their collective consciousness, right? That's how Abraham counted his wealth
Yeah,
and the
through cattle,
amount
right?
of, yeah, and the amount of
Cattle.
livestock that he had.
Yeah,
Mama's scared of chickens. She ain't got none of those.
I'm trying to get some. Chew on that.
I'm scared of them. I'm scared they're going to chase me. They're mean.
I
But
think it's the rooster, right?
I'm telling you all of these things because there's nothing fabulous or glamorous about the life that we live. That's why we don't romanticize it. However, the trade off and the freedom we have to raise our children as free range children and the conscientious parenting we were able to do that our parents maybe weren't able to give thought to because of the way they lived and they were just trying to put some food on our table and put a nice decent house over our heads and some clothes on our backs. We had to trade some of those conveniences, some of the fabulousness, some of the glamour, right? We had to trade some of that for the liberation, for the freedom, for the ability to, we're not part of your dense city pocket where all of the thoughts are, thoughts are things. All of these thoughts are coming together to form this egregor. We're not part of anybody's egregor. It's about 2.3 hectares or acres of land before my next neighbor. There's no, right? We get to be on one accord. We're not distracted by narratives, poor programming, and yada, 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 yada. So there is a choice and a trade off that goes with what do you actually desire versus, right? Like, what do you want? What do you care about? What do you need? And we need the liberation over the convenience.
Especially this time in my life,
Yeah.
getting older. I'm a type of brother who came up through the military, things like that, through the fire department. This is a paramilitary organization. So it's, you have a rank and order file. And this is the stuff I listened to for all those years. Right? Somebody telling me to do yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You had to do it that way. And then when you got out of that situation, that structure, it
You have
was,
to think for yourself.
yeah, it was a level of freedom. But yeah, you got to think for yourself. But then you say, I don't want to go back to this type of fixed structure where I have to report to so and so and this person and that person.
And as a grown adult, you got to be explaining yourself to somebody as to why you did or didn't do
Yeah,
something.
and so your temperament changes a
Yeah.
little bit where it's like, I don't have the temperament to deal with that anymore. It's not for everybody. Some people are able to transition and keep it moving, but I wasn't able to because maybe it might be something in me, but I did it for a very long time and I gave nobody any problems and I got out of there. I retired. I did what I could. And now, the only person I answer to is El Jefe. El Jefe, the boss. Y'all know who El Jefe is. Oh, my bad. That's my last boss. That's my last boss. When you used to play the video games, you had to beat the big boss, the final boss. This is it. This is it. But yeah, so that's a part of freedom, liberation, and stuff like that. So she's got the most freedom because she's the FA.
So, hey, I want to jump in here. I want to shift gears if that's okay, because we talk about freedom and liberation. Perfect topics. Brother Malcolm was always on. And when I was trying to get my AOL dial up corrected, I heard one of your guests, one of our extended family, mentioned the BRICS currency, which
Yes.
is, I think,
Did
like
you
a
know you
form
are?
of financial freedom and liberation, and trying to get
Yeah.
this U.S. that I had a friend of mine that we would kind of chop on the Florida at my home. But I was you guys, if we are allowed to ship to kind of talk about that a little bit. Could you
Yes,
inform me and the
yes,
other
Yeah,
viewers
because
out there
it's
exactly what's going
perfect.
on with that? I know it's a couple
Yeah.
countries that jumped in on that.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
On
So
that a
bricks,
little bit.
we talk about bricks a lot on this show. It's kind of boring and stuff, but I always give
Okay.
updates because it's always updates weekly. So bricks, for everybody out there knows,
Okay.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa come together
Okay.
to form a coalition. But they're adding new people.
Daily.
Seems like daily. That's exciting.
Daily.
So yeah. So if you know, you know. He said. I'm sorry. Let me get in here. I don't have my readers. Did you hear about the BRICS currency announcement saying they're saying nothing? Okay. Why would the Iranian ambassador mention this for no reason? Um, I don't. That's a good question. What I will say is, BRICS is coming up on having a. What are they doing? Aren't they having a conference? BRICS is having a conference soon. Where they in July, I believe, where they're going to announce some different things, some new people who are coming into the BRICS nation. And so I don't know, man. Iran is, you said Iranian ambassador? Iran is persona non grata, but hey, they might be jumping in with the BRICS because they are really trying to usurp the US dollar in large
So
settlements of like oil and things like that. Go ahead, sir.
I got a couple questions. So my first question is like, how old? How old is this thing? Like, how old is this whole BRICS alliance? Is this part of the Brexit? Is this part of the Brexit, or is this?
No, it's been on. She's gonna look up the exact date, but they were had alliance before Brexit, but it was
Okay.
just the way we really see it is that the U.S. was weaponizing the dollar, and so really Russia and China spearheaded so they could get away from it.
2009.
So they started this in 2009, and
They were
Okay.
sick of America's shit.
yeah, and so they just started a slow way to get around using the dollar because when you get out here, settlements had to happen in U.S. dollars, and all that means is you don't have see people in the United States don't understand as much because you go to the ATM, you get money out in dollars, you go to the bank, you get dollars. But when you're not in the United States, you have to buy dollars. So
And
you get,
expensive.
and it's expensive because you have to pay a premium. So if I buy $100, I don't get 100. I don't pay $100. I pay a little bit more to get $100. And these settlements are being up in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So if I had to go buy $100 million and pay that premium
I paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for the settlement
for the
itself.
settlement, and they want to settle in local currencies, and that's what they're doing now. If you're doing business between China and Russia, then we're going to settle either in the yuan or the rupee, but we're not going to go buy U.S. dollars to settle, which isn't even either one of our currencies.
Nope.
But we got
And
to pay for it going and coming and
and
going.
virtually non-existent in this part of the world, right? When we start looking into those things, even in Mexico, we are America's next door neighbor. I call it like little brother because that's how they feel. They are thirsty for dollars. Like, do
Yeah,
you have dollars? Do you have dollars? Yeah, a couple of dollars. What's the
God,
problem?
dollars,
Like, calm down.
but
And they're willing to pay whatever for it because they know that they can sell it at a premium. The guy that we get the house from, and our services and the car maintenance and stuff like that, he was like, please pay me in dollars every month. Please pay me in dollars. Because not only was he getting the profit from our dollars, he was able to now turn around and sell those dollars at a profit. Right. So he was double,
kind of double dipping
like two passive streams of income in one.
and I understand
Right.
what he's trying to
I get
do, but we don't just keep dollars on deck, and you can't really get them. Now, when we were in Costa Rica, you had a choice whether you wanted You wanted the Costa Rican currency, which is a colones,
The colones.
or you could get out in U.S. dollars. But here they don't give us that anymore. So you got to go to the exchange store and buy dollars, and that's what people don't understand, and that's why they're trying to usurp the dollar.
Hmm.
And
But
because
the resorts, so Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, all of those different resorts, they encourage tourists to utilize their dollars because not only are they making money in that end,
yeah,
they've raised the market value. And then the third way they make money is turn around and selling those dollars to their country at a premium. So you have all these little tricks in the trade because it is extremely difficult to find dollars in countries and in geographical areas,
yeah, source dollars. It's hard to source
right, to do
dollars.
the dollars. Now, we went to El Salvador and
Great.
their currency is the dollar. Now, granted, yes, they use Bitcoin as legal tender. People are using the dollars until they can kind of figure out how to use the currency. The technology at the time we went wasn't quite
Wasn't there yet. It was coming. It was getting
attuned,
there. It was getting. It was getting
but
there.
because they use dollars, we were feeling like this market value is higher than
Probably
it
should.
probably should be, right?
Understood.
Because you use dollars, because you don't have a local currency, which is what President Bukele is likely trying to mitigate. When you go to Pizza Hut, you think to yourself, like, this is way cheaper in Mexico. Like, wow.
Mhm.
Right? We went to, was it Tony Romo?
Yeah, we had to go to Tony Roma's, y'all.
He
Sorry.
loves the ribs, y'all. He wants to
Oh,
take me out on a
hey,
little
hey, I don't
date.
eat ribs.
He
I
want to
don't
take me
really
out
eat
on a
meat
little
like that.
date.
I don't eat meat
And
like
I was thinking to myself, like, we have a beautiful Tony Roma's in the heart of Mexico City in a very chic, up-styled Manhattan. Like, I'm 1,000% sure that their prices were twice the price of Polanco.
Yeah, they were high, and I was like, wow.
And we were thrown off. Wendy's, they were like 4 for what? There's no 4 for 4 here. You pay for these burgers.
You see, and that's what the
Right.
president's trying to do with Bitcoin, because yeah, the local natives there are getting really hurt by that because their wages don't
Their
keep up
wages,
with
right?
that price
They don't
price
have
going
the
up.
opportunity in occupation, right? That we do in the United States to keep up with those markets. So we were kind of
Yeah,
like, oh, now
and,
we
and just
understand.
for the people out there, and you know, the president is trying to turn El Salvador into sort of a Singapore, Dubai type of situation for the West. So he's offering all these incentives for wealthy people, especially wealthy Bitcoiners, to come down there and invest into their country so they can be like in Dubai. Like, you know, we growing up, we ain't hear nothing about Dubai. Dubai wasn't nothing. It was in the desert. And then all of a
Right.
sudden it's like the richest place in the world.
Right,
So
but
I
the
don't know.
market value will be driven up by the wealth
Yeah. Hmm.
that
So,
begins
so I
to.
have another.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead
Uh,
now.
I got a question. So, Gordon, with you being a foundational brother, how do you feel about this attack? This attack by these other countries trying to form this economic alliance. How do you feel about that? With them really just trying to take on America? What's your feelings on that? Do you feel like it's going to undermine our economy? Do you take it as a personal attack? What's your feelings on that?
Yeah, I do take it. I take it as a personal attack on us because number one, it will undermine the economy as they beat down the dollar, right? And the dollar, I follow the dollar index weekly, and I see the dollar losing strength. And anytime a country can make your currency lose strength and or not just debase it, but maybe just it'll go away altogether, that will undermine the economy. I see it as attack because, like you said, I am a foundational brother. So I consider myself an American, a proud American. And you know, I don't make no bones about that. I grew up in America, a beautiful place. I had a great upbringing. I served my country on all three levels, on the federal level, on the government level, and on the city level. So yes, I have, you know, when somebody asks me, yes, I'm an American. People try to be like, are you African American? I say, no, I'm American. I was born in America. When I travel the world, I got a blue passport. People look at it, oh, he's from the United States. Don't matter if I'm black. And that's how they treat you. And so, you know, I do take umbrage to it. But the problem
Okay.
is that the people who could do something about it aren't doing anything about it. And so I say you position yourself like a chessboard. You position yourself. You see what's coming, so you position yourself a little bit here, a little bit there. One thing we talk about this thing called the five flag theory, and one of the things in the five flag theory is you don't let one country have ruling over all the things that you do. You know, in regards to education, employment, investment, banking, and things like that,
You don't
security.
let them monopolize your life
Yeah,
portfolio.
so we always talk about putting little things in different places in different countries. You know, starting a bank account here just in case. You know, every day I read Chase is shutting down bank accounts. Boom, shutting down bank. I just read it this morning. $22,000 in his bank account shut down, frozen. Nothing he could do about it. Yeah, he got to go figure out. So you can't have all your money somewhere where they have all the control over. You might have to have a bank
Is
account.
that is that happening in America where they're freezing these bank accounts?
Yeah, that's Chase Bank in the
Man,
US.
it's almost every day. Chase and Wells Fargo.
Yeah. The
Mostly
tier
Chase,
one banks.
mostly Chase, but Wells Fargo shutting down people's accounts for no reason. And then telling you, you know, either shut your account down and then like give you out a cashier's check. But it was a story about this guy. He had $200,000 in his Chase account. He lived in Hawaii.
In a money market.
In the money market account, they just shut it down cold. And there was no Chase banks in Hawaii. So he had to fly to LA just to even, you know, get this thing taken care of. You know, it's like, because he called on the phone and he says, no, you got to come into a branch. He's like, but there's no branch here. They say, well, I don't know what I can do for you, sir. And so that's why I tell people, like, man, don't keep too much money in these banks. Find little ancillary other places where you can keep some money that you get your hands on it real quick if you need be. But don't leave too much money
Even
in the
if you
bank.
can get your hands on it in order to protect or preserve or recover your money elsewhere.
Yeah,
Like if he had access to money somewhere else.
yeah, yeah.
So he
He's
was able to
retired.
fly to LA.
But that's a trip. Like
That
I
is a
wasn't
trip.
expected to take this trip. You know, move around, go to LA, get my money settled. And so you have to be careful. Yes, it is a definite attack. I had did on a show. I call it war. It's a act of war when they're trying to take down your dollar, and it's China who is doing this slowly but surely, backed by Russia. It is an act of war against the United States.
Now,
And
on the other hand, right, the United States has been weaponizing the dollar mercilessly against countries where it's not necessary to do that.
putting sanctions on
Right? So, in the big scheme of things, they just want their freedom.
them.
Why do I have to pay you? You don't do anything for us. You don't instill anything in you don't do our infrastructure. You don't it's like when the cartel come and shake down little businesses. They're not protecting the businesses. They're not doing anything for the businesses. They're just coming, with force, like, all right, you made your profits for the day, give me some of it.
Hmm.
In a sense. Right? So I can see it both ways. But regardless of how we see it, there is an economic winter brewing. It's going to be cataclysmic if people are not prepared and ready for what's going to happen to the dollar, because all of those dollars for all of the settlements, he talked about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, are going to come back onshore worthless.
Yeah. And you know, as they used to say back in the day, the dollar didn't have any backing. The only thing that backed the dollar was men with guns. But what you see is the people who have more guns are making strong moves against the United States because there's no way the United States could get into some kind of encounter
A
physically
physical encounter.
with China
No.
backed by Russia.
No.
That's a wash.
Absolutely not.
That's why things are happening the way they are. U.S. isn't really pushing back.
Because what could they do?
What could they do? And the smart thing to do would be join the BRICS nations, but they can't do that because it would just they would be giving in.
Now,
They would be
Let
giving
Freedom
in.
Ring says something interesting. And Let Freedom Ring, this has been my suspicion as well. He's saying, I agree with Gordon, but the USA under the Democrats are helping China. And I've been saying to my husband that it looks like America is like, it's almost like an inside demolition, right? Like they are going along with the program to do whatever it takes to destroy it from the inside. That's how it looks to me with the moves that they're making. It doesn't look like it's an outside thing to me.
Yeah,
It looks like there's a collusion and you guys are all working together and right, the people are gonna get left with the bad.
yeah. Just like we talked about last show, did we? Is it OPEC or APEC?
It was APEC
It's
because it's
APEC.
Asian.
So, like, if you guys see that video of APEC, where all these countries came to San Francisco to have a summit, and China came, and when they came, they had
The streets were lined with
line
Chinese
with Chinese
flags.
flags. And then when you see the Chinese, it's either president, prime minister,
The president
president, he's buddy with President Joe Biden.
kissed them and everything,
So yes,
like a man greeting his wife after work.
yes. So yes, the Democrats and the Chinese look
They're
a
all
little
in
buddy.
collusion.
And this takedown of the currency is real. They want to get these CBDCs going. BRICS wants a basket of CBDCs backed by several currencies. That's what they want.
But it's gonna be backed by natural resources.
Natural resources as well, like a basket where you have some backing to the CBC. United States, I let you have that one. They want they want you paying for stuff with the mark in your hand, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what they want.
the mark of the beast.
That's what the United States want. They want you to, and so Director Carroll, it gets real deep, man. Like it's a rabbit hole that you could just go down and go down because you start like I watch some people, some crazy conspiracy theorists, but then we laugh and say, "Is it a conspiracy? If it's real?"
It's not a theory. It's a conspiracy because they're conspiring
Yeah, there you
against
go.
you. Is it a theory? And it's like, no, they're just conspiring against you. There's no
Yeah.
theory to it. This is what's happening.
Yeah, so we deal with that a lot, and that had a lot for us to do trying to get off the grid because we could see this coming. The dollar is dying. The dollar is dying. Unfortunately, people get paid in the dollar. We ask people not to save in the dollar if you can. If you can save it, if you can save or invest in something else to protect yourself from the problems that the dollar has. And that's it's real. And the BRICS is the BRICS is doing is real. Cats. That's why I said last show. People should just once a week go into Google and type in BRICS and read the articles of what they're doing, the moves they're making. It's like it's slow movement, but it's getting done. And then you'll look up one day and like, damn, what happened?
Mm-hmm. Little by little, and then all of it.
Yeah, always check on the BRICS.
So this is all real. I just started doing this maybe, like I said, a few months ago. Somebody hit me to this. Not going down. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too far, but if we go back to some years ago when they toppled King, President, ruler Muammar Gaddafi, a lot of people said it had to do with that type of thing. Like, yo, we don't like his message of this African unity and shutting out the rest of the Western world when it came to the currency and banking. And right, I'm getting down the rabbit hole here, but they said that was kind of like a coup to make sure that wouldn't happen there, right? Like we don't need that going on. That would, really devalue the dollar and could put the Western currency into, a cataclysm. So
exactly.
I don't know. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but that's what I've heard.
Well, no, but just even simply saying he was trying to back his currency with gold because he had so much gold in his currency. So it was the golden dinar, right? The golden dinar. He was trying to back his currency with that, right?
It's also a biblical.
Yeah. And so what happened? Hillary said, we came,
we saw, and he died.
Exactly. They went over there and just killed him. Like it wasn't nothing. Like nobody said nothing. Nobody looked around like, hey, this ain't right. This ain't right. This is a ruler. This is I don't know what he called.
He's a king of royalty.
He's a king of his country.
He was King Muammar Gaddafi.
And they came and just
killed him like a dog in the street.
And he didn't do anything.
That was alarming to me. Like, whoa, it's really going down for me.
Yeah.
Seeing was real.
But they don't have that same energy for China.
Man, come on. You talking about getting us slaughtered.
I'm just saying they don't have that same energy though, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't.
They're gonna help China. I told you he kissed that man like a husband coming home greeting his wife after work.
It was crazy, man. I'm like, really?
Hey, Gordon, You said something that made me. It's something that we've been talking about. We've been talking about in my home, and I haven't really brought it out to any of my students because I don't want to. Certain things need to be talked about. Maybe just start at the house first. But we've
Okay.
been kind of talking about this at the crib, like, yo, we have no way. Like, there's a reason there's been a China on this planet for like 4,000 years, right? Like
Yeah.
these guys will be nearly impossible. I was trying to tell. Well, I was having an argument with somebody. Like we could not go in there and win any type of battle with them. Like it wouldn't. It couldn't happen. Then I also tried to point out that financially we're losing the battle as well, which we kind of already lost maybe a decade and a half ago when it came to how they were attacking on the financial sector and owning everything and tying us to so much debt. And
Yeah.
so I was just kind of talking, like telling them, like, yo, we don't have a win with them like that. Not right now with the current state of things. And they were pushing back, but you kind of reiterated exactly what I was talking about. Like, what, you gonna do a ground offensive with them? There's no way, right?
Like you gonna get people slaughtered.
That's not even plausible. That's not gonna happen. So what else? We gonna go nuclear and just destroy our planet? Like, there's really no win if it really went to a military situation. And I didn't even bring in the backing of Russia. I'm just talking about China. Period. Like it's not a winnable war militarily, and occupying them, and I don't think we have anything coming like that. There's just no way. Like, there's a reason that these people, this country's been on the planet for like what 4,000 years. There's been a China, right? So 3,000 years. I might be off of 1,000 years or so, but
Yeah, but
it's
you're
funny
right.
you said that. I just want to pick up on that. Like, I don't think we should kind of see what's happening out there and make movements.
Yeah, they can't do anything. They kind of just got pushed into a corner, the United States, and they're gonna have to take it.
But they push themselves into that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to take it. For lack of a better term, eventually they're gonna have to take a knee because you're pinned in, and there's nothing you can do. You're gonna have to get in. You're gonna have to lose world reserves currency status, which just turns you back into a regular, I guess,
Country with no industry.
no industry.
don't
So
have
are you familiar?
nothing.
Well, I talked about this on the show. It's called the Triplet Dilemma, and it's a dilemma that when you have the world reserve currency, that you have to outsource everything because you have to have your dollars amongst the world. So that's why you've seen a lot of companies go to China, factories go to other places, Japan, and all these
Get
places.
outsourced.
So you have to outsource it, and then you have the world reserve currency, which is great because you can strong arm people into making settlements like oil because you have the world reserve currency. But the dilemma is you hollow out
Your industry and
industry
your
or country.
local
You
economy.
remember when somebody could go get a job at GM and graduate high school, get a job at GM, Ford, something, work there 40 years, buy a house, raise a family,
Retire.
didn't have no money problems. Man, they took them jobs and got them up out of here. And then all the people who were trying to get them jobs, it was like, man, I needed that job. You remember when Trump came in, he was talking about he was going to do something for the coal miners, right? Them jobs is of the past, right? And so they hollow out the industry of your whole country. And then you get these hollowed out corporations that you see. I don't know if you pay attention to the stock market, but just last week or two, GameStop once again, this GameStop stuff, they're up 400%. GameStop is a hollowed out corporation of the past. We don't need GameStop. It's one step ahead of Blockbuster, right? I mean, like we don't need them. We don't need who goes to GameStop for nothing. Everything's digital, but they still keep running up the stock price up of a hollowed out corporation because if enough people pile in with money, the price will go up. And the corporation ain't nothing. I don't even know where GameStop is. I haven't been to one, and I don't know. You tell me, GameStop.
They're not at the mall no more?
I don't know nobody buy no games. These cats buying games digital. They come on.
Yeah, I had to go to GameStop about a month and a half ago. My joystick broke, and I had to get one for my daughter.
Oh my goodness, he went to
It's at the
GameStop?
mall, right? I keep telling him, I swear GameStop's at the mall.
See now Director Carroll showing his age.
Yeah.
But for the kids who maybe their parents won't let them use their credit card or their debit card, maybe mom give me 50 physical dollars.
But
I don't know how much a joystick
the
costs.
first move would have been like, man, let me look on Amazon. I'm going to the mall.
Yeah.
Hey, so it's cool.
Right. I could have Amazoned it, but I was like, I'm gonna go physical on this thing.
Okay, I feel
I
you.
want to see it.
He said, I want to see it.
Do it come with batteries?
I can touch it, the whole nine.
What type of batteries do it come with?
Oh my goodness. Come on, director. You probably still going to Toys R Us when you got oh my bad.
I had a flashback, man. I had a flashback.
I'm off topic, man. He went to Johnny's Toys. I am
yeah,
off
my
topic.
bad. Yeah, let's get back. I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh, okay. I'm just did you want to read any of the comments or something?
No, just people. Nerd of Ink, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
The Colonel, thank you so much for joining.
Hey Colonel, how you doing?
Let Freedom Ring said like it's imploding from the inside out due to voters' ignorance.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
So I have to
Cryptonomics, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Cryptonomics. Thank you for coming in. We haven't seen you.
Silver show.
Yeah, we haven't seen you in a while, man. We did a good Silver show on Friday. We was hoping you pop in. So let me ask Director Carroll, since you are in the United States and it looks like it is a voting year. I mean, if you're comfortable telling us, if you don't want to talk, what are your voting like? How do you see it as far as voting this year? Not many options.
We're gonna really go there. Okay.
Not many options.
Really go there. So me personally, I'm almost to the not almost. I'm at the point. I've been there for many years. You know that my job was in sales for many years, right?
Okay.
The house is built off of it. I truly believe if you say you have these two choices, I say, here we go. You choose these choices. And you have to say, wait a minute, no. Let me tell you the other choices that I think that I want from. And you just pick for one of these that I give you, I win every time. Right? Single time. If I just say these choices, you pick it, I guarantee you both of those choices, I'm gonna win. Right? So I'm one of those people that feels like I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter because I do vote, so I can say that I do vote, but I'm gonna be honest. I feel like whether we're in a Republican cycle or a Democratic cycle, the way that America wants to move is going to continue on that path, right? And I think it's almost diversionary to get people more polarized, easy to control, and at each other's throat over really nothing. I just don't see where much will change in a Democratic cycle or a Republican cycle. And I'm sure there's going to be pushback to that, but I don't know, especially the older I get and the more I read and look at different things, I've gotten more and more cynical about the whole process. So I do want to put that out there. I'm not sure which way I'm going to vote. I am one of those people that feels like I'm going to speak about Black America. Here we go. Black America completely let itself down by just being always, the majority of Black Americans are going to vote Democratic. It completely strips us of the power of our vote and allows them to just bag us up and know the way that we're going to move, and it allows for our politicians to never really be held accountable or scared into doing what we want because we just might vote them out or we just might vote the other way. So those are my true feelings on how this whole thing is moving as far as voting and different things like that. I feel like we should be voting Democrat or Republican based on how this candidate is going to affect our family, our community, and how we move. But as a Black community, we don't do that. We just get into this book of like most, I'm not saying all, but most, you just need to go Democratic. If you don't vote Democratic, it's crazy. Like the person that left the comment, just lack of knowledge by our voting base. led
Okay.
to disaster. So I'm in full agreement there, and those are my true feelings on how I feel like we should be really never ever just saying I'm always going to vote one way or the other, but really looking at the issues, looking at how your family is structured, how you're set up, look at how your community is set up, how it's structured, and see, will this candidate or this person help me out on that level, help us out on that level, and
Yeah.
kind of hold them hostage with our vote, which is the way it's supposed to be. But it's not like that. So I'm
That's a great.
very disappointed.
That's a great overview, and I like that you said that. And yeah, I agree with that. Because I mean, everything you said was right. Now, I would ask you this though, because I've been in this situation before. But when I lived in the United States, as a person such as yourself, being a homeowner, having a child, um, working for this. I don't know if you work in the city of Cincinnati, you work for public schools of
Yeah,
Cincinnati, right?
yeah. CPS, the city of Cincinnati, I believe. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
part of the city.
so you have to sometimes, not sometimes, all the times, you have to vote on the very local level, which is very important, right? You don't want your taxes up, or I mean, I used to have to do it at the fire department. You have to vote for different city council members because when I worked at the fire department, it was public health and safety. And so
Right,
there were certain people who wanted to give funds to it, and there were certain people who wanted to take funds away from it, right? And so you, as an employee of the city of Cincinnati, you had to vote for the people who were behind you in very
right.
small things. Even we had small children. They
They
kept
need that school
they
bus.
kept trying to take away yellow school bus
They need
service and
that school
everything. We've been like,
bus.
hey, no, we got to get out and vote. We need the school bus. So when you see at a local level, do you see the more importance there? Like, I got to get out and make sure everything's good with my house, the schools in my district, because what happened is, and I didn't know this, but um, we lived in like East Walnut Hills, but it was really close to Hyde Park. And so what I learned is when it was time to vote for anything that had to come with city schools, they voted against it because they didn't either one have children or either two didn't send their children to city schools. So they was
Correct.
voting against what we was voting for. And I said, damn, that's crazy. And so I say, like, you got to get out there and vote on the local level for those little things, trash tax, little stuff like that. Do you have to
New
fight?
tax, updated textbooks,
Yeah, you
right?
got to vote for the mayor, right? You got to see what the mayor's
Yeah,
talking about
Mhm.
and
yeah.
pick. I was like, oh man, I got to go with this mayor, no matter Democrat or Republican. They talking about giving us some funds and helping us, or they trying to take away from us. And
I, I
I would say
I'm
one
sorry.
last
Go ahead.
thing. One last thing. When I was in the fire department for a stretch of time, I was in the political action committee. So we would have to sit down and talk to different candidates who were running for city council and also running for mayor and see what they were talking about. And then we would come together as a union, the local 48 union, and say, this is the candidates we endorse,
Mhm.
and we would put that out, and then we would put the signs at the union station. We could put it in the firehouse, whatever. And we had to deal with that. We had to interview the people when they said, "Hey, we don't want you guys to get no raises." We went 3 years without getting no raises because the council people wouldn't give us raises. They would say, "If you want raises, then we got to lay off people." And so we stood firm and say, no, we're not laying off people. We'll go without a raise. And this is some of the political stuff that happens on the base level. And I'm sure you know it because you're fighting probably for a budget increase, things like
Yes.
that. Maybe if you need more employees to help you. Tell me, I'm talking too long. Go ahead, tell me what you say
No,
about
no.
that.
I agree totally. I think I know we get caught into the I call it presidential diversion scam. Borrowing with
Mhm.
my brother Black Thought, as I've heard him say that before. But it's
Uh,
much more important to focus on what's going on in local government. It's going to impact you and your family much more. Those are the things, those topics need to be, those topics, those candidates, how you're moving as a family, what they're talking about, way more important, I think,
yeah,
than the overarching presidential elections, because that's going to impact your dollars quickly, more readily. And I think it's just more impactful on what's going on with you and your family, right? What's going on with your home or your house taxes going up? I'm not saying don't look at the presidential race, because it's going to affect you. Please go with the person you think makes the most sense for you and your fam. But I think our attention should be more on the local level. Going through the same thing right now. I don't know if just give you a quick snapshot of what's going on with the local politics here in Cincinnati. Directly impactful for our family. What's going on is our superintendent of Cincinnati Public Schools, a black woman, Mrs. Ironetta Wright. She just basically was forced out of her position. Okay, so she was just forced out of a position to see multiple no votes of confidence from a lot of different unions, and she resigned. So I'm seeing the effects of that. We have not received our raise. They kind of held us hostage. We're in the middle of a wage freeze because of all these different things that are going on with our leadership and trying to figure that whole situation out. We haven't come to our collective bargaining and gotten that worked out right now because we're dealing with this. And I'm going to say crisis, because Cincinnati Public Schools has had 3 superintendents in a 5-year period, right? To me, any organization where we changed leadership that many times in that short of a period, I'm a sports person. If your favorite team has went through 3 owners in 5 years, that team is in a crisis. So I'm currently seeing how that is affecting my family, because we have not been able to come to the collective bargaining table and figure out what we're going to do with our contract situation. She kind of started playing a little more hardball, and she saw the writing on the wall and was like, I'm just not even going to show up and negotiate anything after we figure out what's going on with my situation, and y'all can figure that out. So that's kind of what you said. I echo that. I'm just giving that example to show that I think that's more important than the presidential elections coming up. That's my personal opinion. No, I'm not saying ignore it. I'm never gonna say that. That doesn't make any sense either. But I just think it's more impactful what goes on at the local level, than on the federal. So
let me ask you this. As you say with the superintendent, I just read that the other day. Aaron read it to me, and I said, "Well, I don't know why she resigned," and I didn't know. They didn't really give us any context to what was going on. But in that, where it's still bargaining, can this become a strike issue, or are you allowed to strike? I know some unions, or you're not allowed to strike, or would it get that bad?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
could it get that bad? Yes. But I think everything is going to work itself out. Something tells me that, we've had, and maybe that's that complacency that happens when you've had some years of, what we say, goodwill, where it's always kind of worked itself out. And maybe it could happen. I don't think we can't strike. I know it'd be frowned upon, but if it got to that level, I'm sure we could. But I don't think it'll get there. I think it'll be okay. We've had pretty much harmony when it comes to that. When it comes to the contract negotiations, it usually works itself out. And I know once we get the next superintendent in, I'm sure they're going to be eager to get that handled, and that'll be the message.
Yeah,
they want to be elected, so they're going to say, "Yeah, we're going to make it work, and we'll meet and get everything going, get it back up to snuff." But yeah, it was just the whole situation to me. This crisis, not knowing what you want, making the wrong decision. I thought it was the wrong decision from the very start. She's not from Cincinnati, doesn't know the way Cincinnati Public Schools moves. And they picked this woman, basically saying we want a voice from outside of Cincinnati Public. We had an interim superintendent that I thought did a pretty good job for nearly a year, or maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And then they kind of sent the message like, we don't want a voice from inside. We're going to hire from outside.
Yeah.
They went and got this person, I believe Miss Wright is from the Detroit area. And then they complained the whole time that she wasn't doing it the CPS way, which to me made no sense at all.
Yeah.
So, there's a problem within CPS because if I hire 3 different leaders and we can't find, we're changing leadership 3 times in a 5-year period, I think we need to look further than just at that superintendent themselves and say they're the problem. Like with anything else, I think we need to look within and see what are we doing with our hiring practice. What do we want?
Indeed.
What
Yeah.
are we trying to accomplish?
And I'll co-sign that because we dealt with that as far as, they opened up the rule that you can bring in a fire chief from outside of the city where typically you just got promoted with through the ranks, right? Same thing with the police. They bring in police chiefs from outside other cities and stuff. And, they want to start changing up where if you had somebody coming up through the ranks, it'd be some continuity, as we say. But people coming in, bringing the way they do things, and it throws off the whole order of the system. So this is the last question I'm going to ask you on politics. I just want to know what you think about this too. So people like us, so we didn't uproot it and we didn't went to another country because my wife is crazy. And so
No, Sam, this was his idea.
Oh man, it's crazy. But anyways, sir, you find yourself in a place or city, you set down roots, and unless you go about getting the proper paperwork, you have no voting rights. So you kind of go with the flow of what the community is doing, and you're just like, well, we're here. So one of the things, because we're in a small town, in a small community, we made it a point to meet with people. So, we know the police commissioner, we know the mayor, we know influential business people in the community. Whereas we can't vote, but they come to us and they say, how is everything? Is things that you can change? I say, yeah, if you could do this, you could do that. So we didn't get an actual vote, but we got say so to people who can actually do something. And they want to keep us here because we bring US dollars to their community, not physical dollars, but when we transfer our dollars into, when we use a Visa and stuff like that. So they want to keep people like us here because what happens is we are here, but we don't work here. We're not taking any money out of their economy. Nobody's paying us to do anything, right? All we do is we make our money in dollars and we take whatever money we make and infuse it into the economy. So they understand that, hey, we need to speak to these people. What do they want? What do they need? Is everything all right? How do you see it as if somebody was off the grid with no voting
But basically,
privileges?
we get more stuff done in somebody else's house
This is
than when
true.
we're at home.
This is true. It's true. And it's kind of weird but refreshing. Like, oh, so we can go set up like this. We don't even have to vote here in this community, and it doesn't matter. And the person who wins, they want to sit down and talk to us. Like, well, we need to talk to you. And that's a
Is there
different.
anything we can do for you? Is there
Yeah.
anything that you don't like? And you're like, oh, yes, I have a laundry list of things I do not like or care for.
Like Gordon, Miss Aaron, what you guys are speaking to, you're speaking to power dynamics, right? You're talking about that, the real talk, that power. Like sometimes your power might not be in vote, but it might be in the vote itself, but you're wielding that power, right? One, you're educated. You understand that. You understand they want us here. We have a commodity that they really want. And when you know that, when you know what they need, you have knowledge and you're empowered. And now that you know what's going on, you understand your situation. Now you're just putting power to you've empowered yourself. You are making the connections. You're going in, you're letting them know, hey, we're here. We want to be a vital part of the community. We want to have a say. How can you help us? And this is what we would like to see. So now you're doing what can also be done here, right? This can also be done whether you have a vote or not. Where you know that this is the commodity they have. First, you got to have something you got to have something to bring to the table, which you guys do, right? You have these dollars that they want. You have this income stream that you know is there, so you know your power, you realize your worth, and then you're just going making the connections, communicating that, which can be done here. I'm glad you. I really, hopefully, when we get this, where we talk to our students, I'm hoping that you'll get a chance to talk to them about that, where it's you are the power is within you, within the people, within that ability to connect, and that's what you're doing. You're just connecting, letting them know I understand my worth. Right, I want to be a vital part of this community. Here's some of the things that I want to see if you want to make sure that part of this community. Otherwise, I can go somewhere else and same thing there. So, almost like I was saying, you kind of holding them hostage with the power that you have, and we're talking that real talk, which is power dynamics. And you have to be educated first to know that I hold and wield this power. Then you have to be you're making you're activating, and you're getting out there and communicating that you know that, getting in contact with the decision makers, and letting your voice be heard, and then making moves and wielding that power. So I love it. It's beautiful, and I think that should be done more here. Right?
Yeah.
Young people who are not able to vote, they should start talking. They should start going and saying, "Hey, I will be able to vote soon. I will be a force in this community. I'm probably going to be a high earner. I have I don't know, whatever their influence is as far as social media or their sphere of influence. They need to start wielding this power and letting people know, that's how things get done. Period. That's just how things get done. That power dynamics and realizing the power that you wield. I'm always trying to talk to my students about that. No, you can't vote now, but that power dynamic, and you know what's going on with that power. You have to know the knowledge of your self-worth or what you can bring, or even the potential power that you will wield in the future. All of those things can be leveraged, and that can be leveraged to make gains for you. So I love what you're doing. I think it could be used on all levels for anybody. I think you just gave the blueprint for any of these people that are outside of our country, expats, and this is how you move where your voice is heard, even if you don't have a vote, right? Because you have a vote. Trust and believe. Hey, you're wielding that power. They know, we want them. We would like them here, right? We would like them with us. Simon family, you want them with us. So I just love how you laid that out. It's beautiful, and I'm hoping the rest of our viewers, and I'm really hoping when you talk to our students and coming up this upcoming school year, because I'm already kind of trying to put it into the curriculum already. I'm thinking either bi-weekly or weekly. Man, I'd love for you to speak to them about that, because that what you just said was power, right? Power, how to wield it.
Yeah. And we had to figure that out because we have no say so. So we got to figure out, can we say something? We don't want to be like we don't get nothing to say. But in smaller towns, you do have something to say. You stick out. They want you here. They want your children here. Your children add to the community. They're part of the community as far as playing sports and education. And so they want you here. They want that here. And so I got to ask one more question. One more question. Just I get a take on it. Is that from if you're familiar with Tariq Nasheed, he has an idea that you go as a base to the candidate, and his idea is if you're not going to give us something tangible, we're not going to vote. And then he uses it. He says, because people, like Roland Martin, they bang down on him and say, people died for the right to vote. Thank you. And what he says, no, it's not really that. Not voting is a strategic. It's a strategy.
Correct.
So you have to earn my vote. Is how he says it. You have to earn my vote. What are you going to do? Not for me, but for our base. if you're not going to do anything, like Kamala Harris said, I'm not doing. Tell them how she said it.
I'm not doing anything specific for Black people. So stop asking.
She told you that.
End quote.
And then they still went with the Chucks.
Hand clap
They
emoji.
still went to Chucks and Pearls. And I said, but why? And he's saying, if you're not going to give me anything tangible, I'm not going to vote. And then everybody jumps on him and saying, you are the reason why, the Democrats don't win and this and that and the third. And it says, no, just give us something tangible. Now, his big fight is reparations, right? So that's a long fight. That's a long, big fight. I don't know about that.
But every ethnic group that were supposed to get or were supposed to receive reparations, with the exception of the number one group that should receive reparations.
Yeah. So that's his fight. Give us something tangible, and then we'll give you our vote. Otherwise, we will not give you our vote, even if that means we don't vote at all. Is that a strategy or something that you see is, what would I say, helpful?
I am in complete agreement with this brother, right? The ability to vote and or withhold your vote is power, right? What we just talked about. And if you're not going to do something for us, like I said, your goal with your vote is to invoke the power that it has to hold these people accountable to do something for you. Like that, Kamala Harris being able to come out and say that the Black community should have just said, we're not voting for her. Everybody, we're not voting, right?
Yeah,
we're not doing anything for us specifically. She just stop asking. We just stop asking for our vote. We're not going to vote. And we have to be collective, but it's so hard. Everything's so fractioned, and you're a sellout if you do this, and you're letting the ancestors down, all the people that died. Yeah, we want the right to vote, but if we know that we got you in the back pocket, then isn't that also a form of disenfranchisement? So the power to vote and or withhold our vote is part of that power dynamic we're just speaking to. So I completely agree with the brother that says we should say, no, we're going to withhold our vote. We won't vote, right? Whatever base you form, whatever sphere you have, if you're not going to address that, hell, we're not going to vote for you. That's what it's about. That's what democracy is about. That's what this system is set up for. You get your aims accomplished, your means accomplished by voting or withholding your vote and being vocal about it and holding people accountable and making them do what they say they're going to do. So I'm in complete agreement. I disagree with people that say, oh man, you're letting the ancestors down. No, maybe those people are letting the ancestors down that won't just commit to doing something for a certain group, So, and I'm also going to jump off into the reparations thing because we really go hard on this in my class. We talk about it. Not only we talk about it, but we study it. We look at the different examples on a national scale of those that have received reparations from our government, as well as a global scale on others that have received reparations for some reprehensible acts or some regrettable acts. And the lovely wife, Ms. Aaron, she hit it on the head. Mostly, wrong, I'm using my quotation, wronged community in America has received some form of reparations, except for, the descendants of those that were enslaved. I think it all goes back to what you just said. We know we have in your pocket and we can't actually come together as a coalition and stay on the same page with things, which is tough, right? Because, however many, millions and billions of Black people or melanated people we have on the planet, there's however many people we all have a different way to be Black or whatever they want to call it. So there's so many different ways you can go down that walk. So it's hard to have a coalition. But the first thing is like you guys are always talking about is forming that community, is forming that base, is being clear about your intentions, is being intentional about what do we want to accomplish, and then it's putting that political power and force and holding, withholding, or voting itself. That's all part of that power dynamic that we need to learn how to wield, right? We need to swing that like a sword. We need to wield that. So I'm in agreement with that, brother. I'm 100% in agreement with it. And I do believe we definitely need to have reparations. And I don't think they need to be in the form of a check. I think it needs to be something more structural. Yeah. So I know I went in a lot of places with it, but you know how I move. That's how I feel about the whole thing. So I completely agree with you on that.
I love it. I love it. Go ahead. I was like, oh no. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I just was trying to touch on the political stuff. I'm not too political, but I understand what is going on. So, I keep my eye on it and things like that. But we've been somewhere so long that we don't really have a say. So, like now I don't know the president on that. Now the presidential election is coming up. I don't have no say so in that, but the president of our state. So I guess that would be the equivalent of the governor. Yeah, we have some seats there at the state level.
But through the city. It's through, let y'all know that we have access to the actual governor, which again, right, we tell people there is absolute value and you have to learn the social networking ability. That's a skill. You have to learn it. You have to fine tune it. You have to be able to communicate. You have to sound educated. They say never judge a book by its cover. That's all people do, right? They say first impressions are last impression. You don't get a second first impression.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's embedded in our DNA, man. Our survival as a species is based on making a read on somebody you meet within the first 6 to 8 seconds that you look at them. Yeah. So you say don't judge a book by its cover, you're saying going against millions of years of how we're wired genetically.
And that's how
That's how people are wired. That's how people are wired, So like you say, you put your best foot forward. You see a lot of these CEOs who talk about uniformity, wearing a uniform. So when you see me, the way you see me this time is the way you're gonna see me next time. That's my uniform. If it's a black shirt and black pants, that's how you see me. Boom. Oh, that's what he wear. Or if she got a certain, show up in uniform, ready to go every day when you step out the house, so that when somebody sees you, that's uniformity, and they know, boom, I made this first impression on you. I see you again. That's how you are. Oh, that's how you roll.
Every time I see you, you look like somebody who has some type of influence over somebody. And that's really important. Yeah. I don't throw myself together to go to the supermarket. I get up and act like I am going to a 8-figure corporate job every day. And that's just to go to the supermarket, to go to the corner store. Because I don't know when I'm going to run into the mayor. I don't know when I'm going to run into the police commissioner. I don't know when the governor is here in town visiting with the local candidacies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we've had that situation arise where we do bump into them out and about. And we're able to have real conversations in that short encounter where when you leave, some action is going to take place, right? Because you can't dismiss. You can't dismiss us. Right? So like these little things and people don't the fact that Jordan Peterson has to tell about 10 million people, because I think he's got like 10 or 15 million subscribers. When you get up in the morning, make your bed, means that we've lost a lot along the way. And like I said, we do a lot of complaining about our condition, the state of our condition, the state of our existence. And we're not seeing enough people take that bull by the horns and willing to do whatever it takes to make the changes necessary. Right? Today's Malcolm X Day. By any means necessary. What are you willing to do? And if it means you got to get up 45 minutes earlier, so when you're out and about and don't know when you're going to run into the people of influence while you're complaining about how they got stuff going in their town, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be put together enough so when you make those complaints, they are like, okay, we're going to take that under advisement. We're going to see what we can do for you.
Yeah.
right? I can't walk around town looking like a bum and then say we the staple of the town.
Right.
You just can't. I don't walk around in pajamas. I don't wear a bonnet. I'm not getting at anybody, but I'm making something, I'm making a very specific point,
Yep.
right? When you're asking for certain things, there's a responsibility that comes with it. You want to be a power couple? I hear these young ladies say all the time, they want to be a power couple. That means getting your ass up early, putting yourself together, and being able to articulate and express the things that need to be articulated and expressed. It means maybe working on business communication. It means reading a book that's longer than 2 3 minute read. It means watching some type of documentary that's longer than the 10-minute TikTok span. And it really means stretching your mind to the point where you can at least touch your potential. And that requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of responsibility,
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
requires a shitload of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the three
Yeah.
things that I think a lot of people, that's their kryptonite,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what they're allergic to,
Mm-hmm.
those three little
Like,
things.
like, like you have to look the part. I'm always coming in. You have to look the part, right? I get this a lot in my, in school. How I come in, I have people ask me, like some of my students, Mr. Carroll, why don't you ever look like the rest of the other teachers? I told them I'm not the rest of the other teachers, right? Look good, feel good, perform good, pay good, you stay good. You're gonna leave a legacy, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
use some of that prime time Deion Sanders thought. That was always in my mind. I want to look the part, and I also told them there's a dynamic in America. I'll bring this back because the most of the people, 94%, 95% of my students are black and brown. So I tell them there's a reality, unfortunately, in America where even when you have done everything to earn respectability, you have all the degrees, you have all the you have all the experience. Because how you look, what you look like, and we're just talking about from this from a skin perspective, you might not be afforded the type of respect or acknowledgement that you're supposed to get. So take advantage of all things that you can to make sure that you get that. Look the
Right.
part, right? So I come in, I'm looking like I'm going to make decisions because I will. I have to make decisions on how we move. So I want to look like a decision maker. And like I told them, if you are a decision maker or you're not, you are aspiring decision makers. Start looking the part, right? And if you are not at the point where you can have the financial means to look the part, guess what? Start thinking about how you are. I told him, hey, I didn't always have great money and was able to dress this way, but I know I was able to read books. I was able to look at different things. I was able to get my knowledge built, and I knew the way that I would look when I got to that level where I had the financial backing to look the part, right? So you're always, whether you're doing it upstairs or physically, you want to have that mindset, right? To look the part. You're going to be one of these decision makers. Move as such. Move as such.
Right. You
So
know,
here you
Nas,
go. Saying,
the great American poet, Nasir Jones. Don't get me,
yeah,
he just came out with 6 albums in like 6 years. So I can't remember which album it's on. But he says a very telling bar. And he said, net worth match the image, right? You have a very specific image. And unfortunately, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? One picture, one symbol is worth 1,000 words. So, when we talk about flag theory, that's a crucial part of your flag theory. Is
yeah,
unfortunately it is your appearance. I get that you can get stuff done in sweatsuit. I get that you
Yeah.
can get stuff done in your pajama pants. I get that you can get stuff done with your bonnet on. But the people who are in power already, like you said, they already have a certain narrative in their mind about maybe American blacks or however they want to frame it, right?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, I know that you got your student. I'm telling you a real thing now.
yeah,
Brown people don't like us, right? I'm telling you like some real shit. We are in a very brown country, and they have this narrative. I keep telling Simon, I'm not sure if it's programming from television, maybe Thug number 2, they use an actual black dude. I'm not sure what their programming is, but they ain't feeling us like that, right? So in the world, there's no real coalition, unfortunately. Cool.
Yeah,
No problem.
yeah.
No problem. So you have to now work and fight harder against that. And it turns into almost like, oh, well, we wanted the good blacks, right? And I hate that. We wanted the good blacks. But you also have to have some type of not aggression, but you have to have an assertion about you. You have to be assertive.
You have to be assertive, and if I could cut in real quick, because and we probably spoke on this before, but they're always trying to ascertain what type of black are
What
you.
type of black are you?
Am I Jamaican? Am I Cuban?
Are you in
Am
a
I Colombian?
socioeconomic status that I can look my nose down upon, or do I have to capitulate to who you are and what you bring to the table? And we always force it to the capitulation, right?
Because they always go the route. If I go in the store and I want something, with my Spanish, you Dominicano. Well, no, I am not. But they're trying to already put you down.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be like, no,
I'm
back on
always
Fafi.
Dominican.
Yeah, Dominican or
Yeah,
something.
they always. I've
Cuban
never
or
been
something.
anything else. I've been Cubano once, but they always have me tagged as Dominicana. But the point that I'm making is that also means that your responsibility and accountability is that you can't get caught lacking around town, right?
Yeah.
You have an it's like being when we talk about social influencers, social media influencers. Y'all got to put that work in real life, right? IRL. You got to do that in real life. Just like y'all airbrush y'all pictures and do all of this stuff because your pictures can't look crazy on Instagram or whatever social media platform you use. In real life, you have to get up, get dressed, and be who you say you are every single day of the week, and you can't get caught back in. If you're now turning around and asking people in power to strategically, by proxy, get you in touch with other people of power and so on and so forth. And these are some of the things that we talk to, even when you travel, right? I know a lot of people like to travel. I tell them all the time, I travel a lot. You want to travel, you want to be comfortable, so you wear your little sweatsuit, you're going on vacation. And no, you get better service and respect when you dress to the nines when traveling. You get your seat upgraded for pennies on the because they think you're somebody already.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a whole show. We did a show about that, a portion of a show, and that comes from cite our source Andrew Henderson. And he talked about traveling internationally and dressing the right way. If it's just business casual, whatever you put on a polo shirt,
They
some nice
treat you
khakis.
different.
If you want to go all the way and put a suit on and have a jacket,
Girls be having curlers in their hair
yeah.
and stuff when
So
they traveling,
and this
sunglasses.
and this is this goes
That's
through
crazy.
and it gets things moving in customs and immigration when the people just kind of let you go slide by it and they
Yep.
want to stop this person. Like
You look important, like you got somewhere to be, man, please go ahead. Right? They treat you very different. When I walk into a store, Neil, everybody and I mean I don't mean it. I'm not bragging or anything, but they stop with their ma'am. Can we help you? Is there something you need? How can? And it's not just chasing after my dollars because the next person can come in. They're still looking to try to attend to what I have going on. There's a presence that you command when you look a certain way.
No doubt.
And there's a way that you are willing to be treated and not willing to be treated when you look a certain way. And this is why we try to tell, our audience, you want to get certain things done, it requires a shit ton of responsibility that most people don't want to shoulder.
mm-hmm.
I agree. I think Gordon will vouch for me on this. My mother let me know early how important it is, especially as a black person in America, how you have to move, and you're giving it to me even on a higher scale of I travel, I do some traveling. I do see the difference on how I move when I check into my hotel, when I'm still dressed from work, or if I decide I'm gonna move and I'm gonna keep my suit jacket on and you get treated differently. You're giving me the international aspect of it, the same
Yeah,
way that moms gave it to me this early here in America. You need to move around, make sure you're looking right. So I was a person that I knew I wanted to have a job where I can walk around looking nice, wearing nice suit, jacket, and/or suit. I like to go in I like very nice suits, and I like the response that I got when I was a young man. My mother would put me in these suits, and we go out different places, and I would see just the difference. My mom always like if she went somewhere, she was loved that how she was treated, and I saw this is how you need to move. I like being treated a certain way. I like being dressed the right way, so I'm treated the same way I'm thinking I should be treated the majority of the time. Because you're right. When you're traveling, it's in your day to day. My students, whatever the case may be, they feel like you're a little more important, and what you have to say really counts. Just basically, we can't get past that. That's how human beings are wired. So when you know the landscape, let's dominate the landscape. We're going to move that way. Be intentional about it. I love it. I love that you guys are so and giving that message. Everybody listening, be intentional about this is how you need to move. If you know this is how you need to move, you know that there's already going to be maybe some questions on, are you supposed to be in this space? Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And it's probably more prevalent where you're at. Let's look the part, right? Make it a little easier on yourself. Make your life go smoothly. No, damn. Empower yourself. That's what it's about. Exactly. Empower yourself. Take the extra time.
You always go out here and look like a movie. You look like a movie star. That's what they say.
Funny story, Neil.
That's what they tell her. That's what they tell her.
I went to a place called La Cava to get
hey, that's a nice
to
place.
get Simon a tequila, right? His favorite tequila. It's me and Sean. Sean stayed in the car. I get up, I walk to the glass, and there's a young lady standing there. And Neil, she is so exasperated by the way that I look. That just the look was like, well, what the hell are you doing and what do you want? Like, that's how she looked at me. That's what was expressed to me. And she was so exasperated by the way I was dressed. I had on a nice little mini dress and this long, flowy thing behind me. I call it my Jacob coat of many colors. So when the wind blows, it's very dramatic, very Beyonce dramatic, right?
I love it.
She was so exasperated. Normally, that would have made me mad, but her level of exasperation was so high. All I could do was laugh. I stood at the counter and laughed for like a good minute, and that confused her now because she's like, "What's so funny? Like, what is she laughing at?" And then I said, "Man, what's up, boy? Right? Let's get this tequila. Let me go home." And I had to laugh for a whole nother minute because my level of dress was exasperating to her, and I had no idea. She just gave me this look like, "The hell are you doing?" Right? Just like what do you want? I had to stand there and laugh for it. It's the first time I've ever reacted that way, but she was not pleased. She was not pleased at all. I threw her off with the laughter. It was a hard laugh too. It just made me bust out laughing because I'm like, why is your level of exasperation with me 1,000 at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Maybe I'm going somewhere. Maybe I'm on my way to a party or something. Like, what is the matter? So we get a lot of that.
You get a lot of that. I talked to my daughter about this because I'm like, hey, listen, when you move with a certain air of confidence and a presence about yourself, unfortunately, one of the byproducts of that are the people that do not have self-confidence, that are at war with themselves in some type of form or fashion, or feel inadequate. Just your presence and the way how incredibly dressed and how you have everything down to the nines, even the way you and you know how it's going to flow in the wind, that attention to detail on how you want to move, that confidence. Unfortunately, for those that are at war with themselves, not at peace with themselves, and feel inadequate, just you, that natural yin and yang that the universe creates, then you're going to bring that out in certain people, and they're going to hate the way you move just because they know how confident you are, and really because they hate themselves, right? So I'm glad you were laughing.
I had to. That was hilarious.
You gotta prepare
But
yourself.
she
I tell you
smile
something.
at him. She don't smile at me. She be smiling at him when he come in there. That's
Yeah,
all right.
I'm a
'Cause the fancy guy is what I'm gonna call him. That work the second shift. He loves me.
And he looks zesty on me, but I don't want to
Uber
go there.
zesty, but he appreciates my style.
I don't want to go there with him, but he
He
looks
be
something.
like, "Work it, girl."
He looks shaky, but it's all good. You can be
Oh, okay.
shaky if you need to be.
But she smiles at him. She is exasperated by me any day of the week, every day of the week. Like,
Beautiful.
so now she just try to have it on the counter so she don't have to interact with me like that. I
Yeah,
try not to go
Oh,
at the
wow.
time. Yeah.
yeah. She,
It's gotten that deep. Has it gotten that deep? Is Aaron? Has it
It's
gotten that
that
deep,
deep.
Aaron?
Yeah, you got this.
Wow.
yeah.
That's really
She working. I can see her behind the thing. You go on in there, let her smile at you. I'm gonna ruin her whole day walking
yeah,
in
that's
there.
it. And you know, just your
But we've
success
been
is
on
it's murder.
for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
We have. It's been
The height
long.
of the show, I think, was 41 or 42 people. There's 40 people in the
Oh,
room.
thank
We
you
want to
guys for
thank you
showing up.
guys. Go ahead, baby.
I said thank you people for showing up. Thank you very much on a Sunday. Sunday fun day. You could be anywhere.
But Sunday Malcolm X Day,
Yes.
right? Not even Sunday Fun Day. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you choose to be here with us. Jay Z line,
Yeah.
classic, blueprint. We just want you guys to keep some of the points, right? We don't sit here and talk to you guys about anything. We don't postulate. We don't do little hypotheses. We tell y'all stuff that has been tried and tested, that we do, that we live, in order to help you kind of strategically build what you are trying to build as well. And that's the whole point of community
Hmm.
is the social networking of the minds, right? Thoughts are things. And that these thoughts can come together and form this fantastic collective consciousness that allows all of us, or at least inspires and motivates all of us to win and to capture, and I use the word captures specifically, to capture that thing that we desire deep, deep down inside. And for Malcolm X, it was freedom. It was independence. It's everything that Bitcoin stands for. So every time you tap into that energy of Bitcoin, we do remember the people who crawled, who creeped. They didn't even crawl, they creeped so that we could fly, so we
Yeah.
can be more conscientious
Yes.
about our moves, so we can be more conscientious in nation building and the children that we have conceived, labored, and delivered and brought into the world, right? I want my ladies to get on board with me about nation building conscientiously. And what happens is when we get to a point where community wise we can work together collaboratively
Hmm.
to inspire, to motivate,
Hmm.
to collude in independence in a sense, we are going to start to see a lot more progress. We're doing this little by little. I'm waiting for and then suddenly. I'm like waiting for it. Right now it's little by little and little
It's
by little
almost
and little by little.
suddenly.
I'm waiting for and suddenly. We can see the writing on the wall. We talk about it 3, 4, 5 times a week on this channel, not just us, but our content cousins. We understand that these dollars are going to come back onshore worthless. What are we doing to prepare for that in the meantime? Just like for my Floridians who lived in what we called Hurricane Alley, they're going to tell you 2, 3 weeks out, this hurricane is coming. This hurricane is coming. This hurricane is coming. And what's natural human behavior? Y'all want to wait till the day the hurricane get there to go to Walmart and look for water, sandbags, toilet paper, when you had 2, 3 weeks to prepare,
You live there
right?
long enough, you have the whole year to
You
prepare.
have the whole, because you know that it's
Because you
coming,
know it's
because it
coming.
comes every
You
year.
know it's coming back. We lived there long enough to be prepared. But
It is Sunday, May 19th, 2024, in the year of our Lord. A lot of the influencers that we look up to, that we listen to, that we vetted, are giving you forecasts of economic disaster as far out as 2030, as far out as, or I should say, as close as 2025, right? Which means you still have time to get your economic policies in order. You have time to get your productivity in order. We're telling you, hey, the average person in their lifetime is going to spend 20 years scrolling.
wow.
If somebody said to you, you can get your time back today, do you want to do that? I would like to think the average person would say, yes, I do want that time back. Cut
14
that number down. Cut that number all the way down. Chop that number all the way down, right? If you're going to spend time scrolling, start pushing productivity in your algorithms, right? You know your deficits, right? If you're character building, if you are, working towards up leveling, you know the things you need to work on. Nobody got to come in and tell you what you need to work on. You know you don't make your damn bed when you roll out of it. You just climb right back in it when you go to sleep at night. Start there, right? You know you have a time management issue. Start there. You know you have a money spending issue. You overspend. It's not that you don't make enough money. Some of you know I make more than enough money. I just overspend it. I don't budget it. I don't do the things I need to do. Or if you say, I know I don't make enough money, what type of skills are you researching in order to enhance your skill portfolio so that maybe now you can reach for an occupation where you do make more money? Or what's your side hustle so you can supplement the money? Maybe your skill, as my husband would say, if you can't make more money, then you need to
Spend less money.
spend less money. Maybe
It's just
that's the skill that you need to enhance,
it's hard. It's hard.
right? But all of those things require discipline. We talk about Bitcoin, we talk about precious metals. You know what skill that requires? Consistency and sacrifice. You got to put this purchase on hold so that you can put more into your Bitcoin, into your precious metals, and you got to make sure you're consistent with that, right? Weekly, monthly, daily, bi-monthly, however you have it set up, you need to commit to that. You talk about people with commitment issues, that permeates through every part of your life portfolio. Every part. Are you willing to commit to yourself? I'm not asking you to commit to another person if that's something you can't do right now. Are you willing to? I've committed to you for 23 years. Don't be looking at me like that. Are you willing to commit to yourself? And that's a big question. Are you worth the commitment?
There you go.
Can you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm willing, I'm worth the commitment. We're gonna do this daily, weekly, bi-monthly, monthly, quarterly, right? Don't let it stretch out further than that. Do y'all even know what the quarters are? Do you know when the quarter starts and the quarter ends? These are little things as adults who work in business, who claim that they are self-employed or contractors or run a business. We boss bitches, all of these things. And then when we ask little basic questions about the way you operate, you can see the deficits that need to be, that it chinks in your armor that you got to fill. And I think part of that is people like you say, they don't do enough sports and they don't do the military. So you miss that macro picture, you miss that bigger picture. And instead of your world lens being myopic, which is tiny, I can only see what I can see, your worldview needs to be panoptic. What does that mean? Y'all got the panoramic feature on your phone, which means you can take this whole thing. You need to have that same lens in your worldview, right? What are my deficits? What do I need to shore up? Where are the kinks in my armor? Some of you guys are walking around naked. There is no armor. It's a chain here, a chain there, a chain, in other places. So when we make these complaints about our lifestyle, about the condition of our country, about the condition that we work in, and the condition that we are married in, the condition that we parent in, what are the solution-oriented approaches are we taking to resolve? Like I said, we can't solve everything, but we can resolve some of them. What are the steps we're taking and what are we willing to do? Right? Where's the by any means necessary in you? I'm willing to be free by any means necessary, even if that means I don't have access to DoorDash. Great. I get to keep most of my girlish figure. I don't have the convenience of next day Amazon. Good. It means I spend less money because if I have to wait, I probably don't need it.
True.
Right? And what means necessary are you willing to do this?
So then, I think that was a lovely speech there.
A lovely rant.
And rant. And but we take for it by any means necessary. That's what we take from that. What are you ready to do by any means
I
necessary?
wanted free range.
And I didn't want to, uh, you know, I didn't want to interrupt you because
Go ahead,
you
baby.
was
I was
flowing.
gone.
Well, no, but I was gonna give, our guest, Director Carol, the last parting shots. If there was anything that you wanted to say, and
Oh, I do want to say one more thing,
oh,
Director Neil. For those of you who didn't make the other show, I see some new names in the room. Power of Nine, thank you so much for joining. Director Neil had a very successful sales occupation early on in his life. He was willing, he heard the call so deeply in his soul for educating our community that he left his six-figure job, willing to do whatever was necessary to build community in a different way. That's the by any means necessary we're talking about. Where's your level of sacrifice, right? Is it a comfortable lifestyle? Right? Where you have all the convenience at your fingertips and you can look like those people on Wally? Or is it I'm willing to give some of this up if it means that I live the life on my account? I live life according to the way I call the shots. I live life the way my heart will allow me to look my face in the mirror and say, yes,
mhm.
right? I'm living according to my values, to my motivations, to my standards. So I do want to shout you out for that because a lot of people in general, black, white, or indifferent, would be like, yeah, I ain't about to sacrifice this money to teach no badass kids in public city school. And I'm not saying that they're bad, but that's just the perception
It
of
really
public
that's
schools,
perception.
right?
That's perception. Um,
So I think that to me, that requires us to give you your flowers once again for those who weren't on the last show.
Yeah.
And we need to applaud that.
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
And
I
Director Phil,
appreciate that so much.
and I'm just saying this to you. Unfortunately, if I was there with you, if I was still in Cincinnati, I would allot my time. Like, hey, how can I help you?
Oh, we're
What could
gonna
I
do it
do?
digitally.
Yeah, we
We're
do it
gonna
this
do
way.
it.
But if I was still there, I would be, 10 toes down with you. Yeah, I
Oh,
may come
I
back
already
and
know.
you may catch me one day. I'm 10 toes
But
down with you.
now let me
I
shift
already know.
to
Y'all
Heather
already
K.
are. Y'all still are. You know, whether it's in the flesh or digitally, I know that y'all are with me, right? And I number one, I'm so appreciative, right? I'm appreciative of the appreciation, and I'm always going back to what you're saying because you guys knowledge and you guys speak so much power. You guys speak so much power on this short amount of time. You said it, Gordon. You said it earlier. You said you have to realize that what you're doing might not be something that you personally will reap the benefits for.
Yeah.
Maybe whether it's in this life or whatever the case may be, but you're committed and you know that it is beneficial and it's for the very best. So, I mean, you guys are doing it as well. I appreciate that you pointed it out, and I appreciate the appreciation. And believe me, man, this stuff, I'm not just saying that to say it. It truly keeps me going, right? It inspires me to keep moving in the direction I'm moving, and I know the move was the very best for me on all levels. You know, spiritually, yes, it didn't look like monetarily it was, but I see it the way things are going to move forward in my life with the plan that I have, that even monetarily is going to work out. And like I told my wife, and that was a serious conversation now. Now, that was a serious conversation. I told her that I know this movement is the right move and that the money will come. We'll be fine. We got the base together where I can make the move. And I know that even monetarily, it's going to be a prosperous move. So,
Yeah.
just having that conviction and that by any means necessary, I knew by any means necessary, it would work because we need to be. I'm also hearing what you said, Aaron. We have to be solutionists, right? I'm always saying that in class when my kids give me these different excuses, and I'm like, yo, I'm trying, and I'm like, hey, y'all might hate me for this, but I'm just gonna tell you, there's no such thing as try. You're either doing it or you're not, right? We go Yoda on it. You do or do not. There's no such thing as try. And for all the energy you're coming up with on why you can't do it or why, I want you to put that same energy into the solution and figuring out how to become a solutionist. So when I made this move, yes, it was at that time, it was like, you about to what? But I knew, I was completely convicted that it was going to work out. Like I knew I was going to find the solutions by any means necessary. I was going to make sure that it was going to be prosperous monetarily to our family, because I knew in all the other aspects that was going to be completely prosperous for me. Right? I knew it was going to be prosperous for our community. I knew it would be prosperous for everybody. So I knew the benefit was there. I was going to feel better as a person inside my soul and my spirit. I knew that was going to lead me to move better. So me moving better means I'm going to do a better job. I'm going to be 1,000% committed, which means that means all those little monetary rewards or whatever, because I'm doing such a superb job, is going to come because I move in excellence. And whenever you're committed to something and convicted, you're going to move even more powerfully. So I knew all of that would come. And just being on that one accord and wanting to do this thing because it was in my soul. And I know I wanted to make it work. So I appreciate you bringing that out. But you guys brought up some important points by just being like, by any means necessary. Are you ready to do what you need to do? And are you ready to do something that you might not see the benefits on a personal level? You guys spoke to that, beautifully. I mean, I think that's why I'm rocking this shirt. I got it. It's, we trying to make our ancestors proud. Right? I don't know if I came out the screen right there, but that's it. So, we trying to make our ancestors proud. You also will be one of those ancestors one day. So hopefully the people that you pouring into will start moving. So when you are there, and you join the ancestors, that they move in that way for you. And that's what I was kind of thinking about when I made the move, right? So I appreciate you bringing that out, for giving me my flowers. Y'all have spoke so much power. This show should have been this is Malcolm X, who always talking about power. You guys are just talking about these power dynamics and these power moves that you're making. I love the way that y'all are moving. I know I say that a lot, but I just have to just keep getting that out. The way that you're moving is just, you guys are exuding power, and I love it. And togetherness, family unit, being together, which is power. So I love it. The word for the day for me has been intentional, and it's also been power. I love the way y'all move.
Well, most definitely, we thank you for all that. This is, as we say, cousin of the show, director Neil J. Carroll, a longtime friend of mine, a very influential person in his community. Like I say, in case he's a husband, he's a father, an all-around great human being, and we love him. And he's an elder now. He's an OG. Yeah, I forgot that. She reminded me. He's a triple OG. My bad. My bad. Let me put that on your resume. He's a triple OG. So he is a triple OG. OG for y'all who didn't see colors. OG triple OG. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. So we're gonna get like she said. A lot of people in the room, we held you too long. If Director Carol, if you don't mind staying for just a few minutes, I want to ask you 2 questions, and we can maybe set something up, a couple things. But other than that,
we want to thank the cousins so much for joining us today.
Wow, that's what I was. I didn't
It's
know.
looking
I was
like
thinking
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday.
Yeah,
okay, back to
Okay,
so we'll be back on Wednesday. Y'all know my throat hurt. I was doing all that talking and ranting. My throat hurt, y'all. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday. We love you guys so much, cousins, and Mamba out.
Mamba out.
We do need to talk about Mamba mentality one day. I'm gonna bring it up just in case it kind of flows over your head when we say Mamba out. That's basically us cutting the Mamba energy off for a new discussion. But we'll do that another day. But